Microphone muted.
You guys can still hear me. I don't have this one hotbound. I am so sorry.
Microphone
But
activated.
we are going to pull in emergency backup caster Thrifty Senpai just in case we keep having technical issues here. But at least we will have the whole game recorded this time. Hopefully, maybe I get hit with the bugs this time. I'm not ruling anything out. This is only a multi-billion-dollar indie company we're dealing with. As Hook resets second game in a row, gonna get the level 2 jump and force a trade on his opponents. Gwen maybe doing the same thing in the top lane, but once again, actually, Sal does take some pretty good damage there. He's gonna chunk through that health pot, but we'll hopefully be able to heal up with some Braum last hitting. Although he could actually be in some pretty big danger here. He is very low in the spot lane, and that is a Zyra with Ignite he's up against. By the way, folks, if you see...
Alright, what are you at? 59? 50,
yes, perfectly synced.
Okay.
Alright, I've got Twitch chat up now, so I can, if you guys catch anything that should not be happening, please like that Twitch chat up and I'll hopefully see it. But I think we're in pretty good state. This Vestas one going in. Tower dives, takes a tower shot. That Ignite's ticking away on Renai. He was late to pop the health potion, but he's still going to survive. Very close there, but Vestas one walks out, and he still has a flash bubble. Master Splinter is pathing towards this mid lane. There we go. A flash comes forward. Vestas one gonna stun his way out, and that's a lot of summoners that the Vestas one is just drawn out of the enemy team. Unlucky, Master Splinter. Unlucky. So these, just a pretty general laning phase being played out here. Only 4 minutes in. I expect to see some pretty heavy jungle interaction in this mid lane in the next few minutes with all of these summoners down. Renai on that Vel'Koz, you know, they're going to be a big gank target, especially before level 6. But it is only an early game Skyner, so who knows. Otherwise, nothing too crazy going on in these lanes. Like Gwen not down multiple waves yet like he was in game 1 fairly early. Bot lane going to be even after this wave crashes, although Salvo could be under a threat of a tower dive. Dubdrum not around, so it won't be the full tower dive. Just gotta be careful not to get snared in a bad place, as the Zyra pressure is very, very real in the bot lane. As Chopman maybe gonna put out a big trade here. He's got caster creeps, but nope, gonna be an even trade. Tank wars, ever so exciting. As we do take a quick look at the gold. Salvo probably trying to hold out for another wave or two. He wants to get that BF sword on his first back, as every AD carry always does. As a Gwen is using his teleport nice and early, so Dire Chopman has created enough pressure to get that summoner out of him before going back himself. Laning phase continues.
22, 23.
5:45, 46. As now Vestas one going in this mid lane. He does not have the Ignite available, so he's not going to be able to commit for that kill, but that's still a big trade onto the Vel'Koz, who's going to have to be playing this crazy safe to deal with the Irelia pressure. Maybe playing with fire as, yeah, here we go. Irelia coming forward. Master Splinter's trying to get there to help his mid laner out. Vestas one flashing out from the turret, but the turret damage was going to be enough, and Master Splinter's going to trade 1 for 1, as now we see both of these teams get their snowball rolling. And That could be big. That was a flash used by the bestest one there, so he will have to play a bit more conscious for the next few minutes here. Renai's coming up soon, same with Master Splinters, although that Ignite will be available. I expect we're going to see a few more all-ins in the mid lane before this laning phase is done. As Dubdrum is going to be closing in on level 6, he will maybe start putting down some of that Skylander pressure as both of these junglers are making their way up into the top lane. Some pinging out happening here as the junglers are just going to walk up to each other. Everyone's aware of what's going on. Splinter's going to clear that ward out. Help Dario and Shotman keep the pressure alive. I think Splinter and Shotman probably feel good about taking this 2 versus 2. Now in this bot lane though, we do see Renai's circulation. Does not like his matchup in the lane. Roams down to the bot, but he's not going to find anything before walking out. As here in this top lane, Master Splinter definitely able to dual Dubdrum. Forces the flash out of the Skylander, and that is a huge summoner being taken off the table. Now there will be no flash pulls coming anytime soon, and this could be huge, especially with Renai under so much pressure in the mid lane. It should really make things safer. While all this has been going on, Tuesday and Hooky Sets have actually accumulated a huge CS lead in the spot lane. They are going to be up about 2 waves here. Maybe a little less. Maybe make that 9 wave and a half. Still a big lead at 8 minutes. In the mid lane, Bestest one also to a pretty big CS lead. A lot of that accumulated while Blue was roaming. As now we do see some level 6 coming through in this bot lane as well. So everyone on the map has ultimates available finally. As a Hook Reset's maybe gonna... Nope. Just takes the zap. As now here we go, Bestest one into Dubdrum coming into this bot lane. They get some nice knockups, they get some nice stuns, they get some nice things, and a very clean tower dive. 2 for 0 with those kills going to Bestest and Tuesday. And they are going to turn that into a first brick, a very clean setup play, no top laner required. And EGD takes a nice early lead. They're going to start pathing themselves over to Drake. Remember, this is just a win Drake this game, as Renai wants to match that play that happened in the bot lane, but it's going to be very difficult here. Renai missing a lot of the Vel'Koz damage, but the Arc Light Beam is coming through. The Ornn ult coming through for the knockups. They really want to force this, but they are not going to be able to. And Dio Chapman going back to base with his head between his tail. So now we're going to see some of these teams going back and spending, have a chance to maybe take a look at some of the gold. As mid lane, a pretty huge advantage in favor of the Bestest one. We're looking at about a 1,200 gold lead in the mid lane. That's about a little over half of the lead that EGD currently has. So we do see Hook Resets and Tuesday have rotated their way to the top lane. We're going to see the 2v1s breaking out, so we'll see if these teams are able to capitalize at all. Back in our day, wants to just slow the pace of this game down. They want to scale with their Vel'Koz and their Jinx as much as they possibly can. Dio Chapman going to be under some big pressure in this top lane, but Tuesday and Hook Resets playing with some big respect. They've just started to set up some vision as the Braum is coming topside, the Trundle not far behind. Because now we have the awkward 2 versus 2, maybe more, in this top lane. Dubdrum has made his way there, Splinter in the area as well. Maybe we'll see a fight break out around this Rift Herald. I don't know how much these teams are willing to risk over Shelly. Splinter's contentious to clear out some vision right now. So we just see a lot of dancing around here, this topside river, as now Rift Herald has been started up by EGD. I don't know how hard Back in Our Day wants to contest this, but they are making their way forward. They have some long-range ults available, and here we go. The Ornn calling the Forge God, not going to do a whole lot with it. Now Scotchanaut being ulted, he was a little split there, a very bad Braum ult, and that kill's going over to Mr. Tuesday. Salvo and Renai Circulation are on the flank here, not able to get in and really deal any damage into this pit. And bad engage on it Back in Our Day is going to turn into a Rift Herald for EGD, who are looking very in control of this early game. We'll see where they choose the path. The Dub Drum has made his way topside. I think they're going to drop this Rift Herald right away.
Joined your channel.
As we are just about pulling Thrifty Senpai in for our emergency co-cast as the Rift Herald comes out in this top lane. Scotch and the Chop Man are going to try to defend as Back in Our Day is feeling the pressure in all three lanes. They're going to just seed this top turret, I think.
Yeah, it looks like they considered moving over Salvo and Renai to come over and cover it, but realized that'd just be a little too late. Gonna give up that tower.
Yeah, welcome, Thrifty.
Hey.
Welcome to the final SPL finals.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be a, you know, a final SPL match ever if we didn't have some absolutely ridiculous circumstances.
No, thank you, Riot Games. You have been watching this on stream up to this point. You just finished patching the game, so you are actively aware of how this game has been going.
Yeah.
And now we do see a aggressive push coming through here in this mid lane. But Dub Drum...
That's gonna cause...
Yeah, Dub Drum has to flash out there. You gotta take the dub with the drum sometimes.
That is such a great way of describing the Dub Drum play style. Sometimes you get the dub, sometimes you get the drum. Which one's the good one? Not really sure, but, you know, one of them's good, one of them's bad.
But it looks like Back in Our Day has weathered the storm, at least for now. 4K disadvantage is still pretty substantial this early in the game, although they are getting some slows, some pillars onto the best one. There we go, it's a pick. A Gwen teleporting in, but not gonna really do much, just joins his team with it. And now Back in Our Day maybe has an opportunity to start sieging something.
Yeah, really solid trundle pillar, gonna set up the play. All of them follow up immediately, get themselves a pick. Fortunately, with the low health bars and mana, not gonna be able to capitalize on a turret or anything, but it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, like I've been saying, Back in Our Day just wants to slow this game down. They want to see Jinx and Valkaz hit 2-3 items without having already lost the game outright, because they know that in team fights they're going to be devastating.
Yeah, they have a lot of scaling, and they have a really big front line to keep that Jinx and Valkaz safe. I mean, you're going through Ornn, Trundle, and Braum. That is...
Not easy.
That is a really tough line to get through.
So we've got 20 seconds on the second dragon to spawn. It's going to be Infernal, so I expect to see the full team fight, as the bestest one is currently roaming from the top side. Momentary man advantage for Back in Our Day.
Yeah, no, this could definitely be a make or break it as this game goes long. That Inferno Drake can cause a lot of power.
Yeah, and Gwen
Looks
wants
like
to just
they are
jump
engaged.
this fight. Fastest one's still a ways out, so this could be the fight. Salvo getting some autos off, but the Valkaz was actually not there yet. Mr. Tuesday gets the kill onto the Ornn. This is looking like it was a disaster for Back in Our Day. Valkaz trying to find some damage from long range, but it's not enough. An easy 2 for 0 for EGD.
Yeah, the Valkaz not being in the right position to be able to capitalize on that fight made a huge difference. It's like the thing with this team is like in any full team fight, you need to have both Jinx and Valkaz. Like that is all of your damage. You are relying on them.
Yeah, and Salvo gonna try for a lucky Jinx rocket there, but not going to get what he's looking for. And EGD.
I also want to point out that Popule didn't get the exact. It worked out really well. It knocked Splinter well out of the fight. Made it a really clean, like between that and the Vel'Koz not being there, just made it a really clean like 3v5 situation.
Yeah, it feels like Back in Our Day was maybe a little antsy with that fight. Like I was saying, I feel like their goal right now needs to just be to scale it out, especially after losing another team fight. And they were really trying to set the tempo there. They weren't able to pull it off. And now they are, I mean, pretty decisively behind at this point. And great job from EGD to be bouncing back after their game one. They've looked much more confident with their plays in this game too. They've taken some big plays, especially that dive in the bot lane, instead of just waiting around for back in our day to make a mistake. And this is looking like the good EGD we saw in a lot of the regular season.
Yeah, they're also definitely the type of, like, they are, I mean, they've looked good throughout the entire season, but they look really good when they're being proactive. Most of the time we saw them lose was, like, they fell behind a little bit, and instead of, like, continuing to try and, like, proactively make plays, they just looked like they were trying to react to everything else like they were doing. They were kind of sitting back and letting the other people take the driver's seat, exploit their advantages.
Yeah, and that's a really good summary of how game one went. So, you know, we said going into the series, one of the big questions is how does EGD respond to adversity in a best of 5? And they have come into this game too. They've shown some resilience. They're totally in the driver's seat, 4,500 ahead before the 20-minute mark. We got Bestest one setting up a big split push in this top lane. He's drawn Master Splinter his way, as they're content to just keep slowly choking out the vision advantage, looking for a pick somewhere.
Yep, Zyroot's gonna find someone, but not exactly who they're looking for.
Yeah, Scotch, though, very squishy for a Braum at this point in the game.
That is the thing that happens with Braum. Like, I mean, that happens with a lot of things sports.
Oh, but they're going for this 5 versus 4, and there's no way for the best one to get in. And actually, Dubdrum isn't even in this fight yet. They have shut down the Kaisa. Can they find more? Renai looking for the long-range damage. It's not looking like they're going to find more. So they've taken out Kaisa. What can they do with it? Because they're still being pushed in the top lane. They've had to teleport the Chop Man over. They still have a 4 versus 3 here in the mid lane. They're getting good damage on this turret, and they're actually getting some good long-range damage down here. Gwen and Hook resets both under a little bit of danger. They've taken mid-tier 1, and they're not done quite yet. Mr. Tuesday just now respawning. Renai,
The best, trying to get that top tower. It is very low because not able to get TP from Dario Chopman. Gotta keep it alive at least for now.
yeah, that was a great decisive play out of back in our day. They saw the man advantage, they saw Dubdrum split, and they just forced it. Now, Bestest one actually looking for a dive, but here in this mid lane, Master Splinter gets pulled in. Tuesday also, or sorry, Bestest getting the solo kill, and that is a disaster in both lanes. Back in our day, maybe pressuring just a little too long here, and now they're falling very behind. Flash for flash trade with Zyra and Jinx. And EGD back in control.
It's like all of a sudden like that, a flash of brilliance for back in our day, but it ends up costing them more than they gained as they lose 2 towers here off a bit of a greedy positioning.
Yeah, now this gold lead balloons back up 6,000 in favor of EGD, with Baron finally on the menu. And back in our day, still a pretty long way away from their power spikes.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the gold here, like, both their carries are behind by about 2,000 of their opposing carries, which, I mean, sure, you can be like, yeah, I scale better than my opponent, but when you're down 2k, like,
That's a lot of
NBA
gold.
is down, has the gold on the right characters as well. Like,
Yeah, that's the second game in a row this has been the case. All of the kills have been going over to Bestest and Tuesday. They are both team fighting well.
yeah, I mean, like, even the scoreline, it's like, they're both been team fighting well. They've been getting all the kills. Like, their team has been supporting them, but the gold has been going to the other people. Like, you see Skarner and Zyra, that 006 line.
That's exactly where you want to be at this point in the game. And now we do see EGD getting a lot of bodies in this Baron area. Dario Chapman maybe a bit too split out here. Is Bestis going forward, Dubdrum going forward. They're going to take this. An easy pick. Dancing around where they did not have vision costs them again. Now
Aggressive positioning going straight onto this Baron here.
yeah, Baron going down kind of fast, and
They don't notice it.
User disconnected
Ooh.
from your channel.
Yeah, that's either they don't know or they think they have no chance of stopping it, so they're just trying to trade for the mid lane turret.
Yep, there's the Jinx rocket to try and steal it. Gonna not connect with anyone. No chance there.
So they're gonna get this turret, but they are being roped behind right now.
Yeah, they find themselves in an awkward situation. Gonna get the turret with the last rocket, but they are finding themselves sandwiched here.
That big engage out of a Gwen, a lot of AoE damage going down, and this is just a disaster for back in our day. Blink and 3 kills go over.
Yeah, Master Splinter gonna probably be able to get out here. Oh, Master Splinter gonna flash, gonna secure the kill on a Master Splinter as well.
Yeah,
That is
now
a Baron and technically a 5-0. Dario Chapman staggered enough that he is up after that.
yeah, rough stuff. It's looking like back in our day maybe needed a few more resources to compete in this early game, as they have not done a good job of waiting out for some power spikes. And now they're about to lose a lot with Baron. I'm thinking mentally we're on to game 3 here.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, we are just over 20 minutes. This is a 10k gold lead. A good amount of damage on both the mid and bottom inhibitor turrets. They're gonna get to go back. They're gonna buy. They're gonna spend that, 5,000 gold they just picked up, and they're probably just gonna slam this base right open.
Yeah, looking at the gold in the inventories, the 2 carries both sitting over 2,200. They're gonna pick up the Wind Drake just for fun. And they're gonna go spend an end, I think.
Yeah, you got to go pick it up so you can run back up to mid faster.
Yeah, good call, good call. So I'm predicting an Irelia ban going into game 3.
Yeah. I think that's pretty. I did actually not catch the draft for this game, so I don't know what the current bans were. But
Yeah, bans, there's options here. Back in our day, didn't really change their bans from game 1 to 2.
okay.
Actually, neither team really did. There was only 1 ban difference between game 1 and game 2 of this series. So here we go. EGD making their way back towards the base of back in our day. It's looking like they're going to go for a split push here. They know best this one cannot be stopped. And it's early enough that they feel pretty good splitting their team up still without being under any real pressure. So they're going to let these cannon creeps do their job from downtown. These turrets are low and getting lower by the moments.
It's just a matter of a few more waves, a few more hits until this base is cracked open and they get to really... Uh-oh, here's the engage though. Scotch not gonna come in, try to get that desperation play.
Yeah, the Ornald's coming through the side. They knock Salvo out. But now Scotch finally going down. But maybe back in our day is getting some damage off here. It's a 1-for-1 with a Gwen going down here.
They did pick up the tower, cracked that base.
Yeah, and that's not optimal, but fine for EGD here. They are content to play this 4 versus 4, and they have to lose quite a few team fights to see this gold start flipping back over.
Yeah, I mean, they don't get to actually put too much pressure here. Kaisa got really low, so she recalled. Really, really close to almost getting picked up by Renai Circulation there.
Yeah, but the big thing, they've cracked the base, so they can now just back, spends, walk down mid, and take that inhibitor. You know, guaranteed 5 versus 5 back in our day ops into a fight, which I think they should honestly just give up the inhibitor. You have the fight with the turret if you're back in our day at this point.
Yeah, I mean, when you're 10k down at this point of the game, that's a lot of gold. Turret not going to even that out all the way, but you need to have the option. You know, like that's like your best chance fight.
So just waiting a second for Dubdrum to make his way back from his base, and EGD will continue the siege.
We see that Aurelio splitting in the bot lane. Gonna try and keep pressure. Figure we can pick up this free turret as well if they decide to try and just play the poke game at that inhibitor.
There we go. They have crashed in. Will back in our day find a miracle. So that bot lane turret's at about half health. Now Mr. Tuesday has made his way onto the mid inhibitor.
Yep. Here we go. Here's the engage that we were potentially looking about. But
Big Poppy ult though. They're taking Orange Jinx out of this fight. Now it's a 3 versus Scotch with nothing on that Braum ult. Bot lane turret goes down in the process, and now multiple ults have been taken from back in our day at the cost of just Poppy's hammer. I think we're about to see this close out, as Bestest One is still putting heavy pressure in this bot lane. By the way, he has a Guardian Angel, so it's going to be incredibly difficult to stop him.
So the second we see this one inhibitor go down, they're going to collapse onto that bot one. It's a matter of a super minion getting into base to tank those 2 towers now. Or they're going to call it good there.
Yeah, it looks like they want to spend 1,300 on Bestus, 16 on Tuesday.
I mean, Baron is up in just over 30 seconds, so that is a possibility.
Yeah, maybe they want to do it the clean way. They know that they're not in a whole lot of danger around Baron. There's still, 12,000 gold in the lead and total control of this game.
Yeah, I think that they like the option. They have the inhibitor open, waves pushing their advantage. Try to force them to come out where they don't have vision, get a pick, and just run it up, I suppose.
Again, Dubdrum playing aggressively. He wants that pick. Dubdrum flashing over walls. Blab with a bad flash there. Gets flash pulled, killed. And that could be the closeout pick.
That's the pick you're looking for. I mean, that Jinx right now, she sure as hell's not doing enough damage to wipe your whole team.
Yeah, that's Dubdrum playing a cock full of confidence right now. And that's going to be Baron Nashor over to enemy gate is down. They're going to go walk towards this gigantic wave in the top lane. Back in our day gets the sad Earth Dragon as a consolation prize. But they need to be basing like 5 seconds ago.
Yeah, I don't know why they walked out of the pit to base there. That's going to cost them a lot, I mean, their base is going to be basically leveled.
Yeah, just a single exposed inhibitor remaining in the bot lane before 3 waves of Baron supers are going to come crashing and trying to end this. I think back in our day needs to just fight this as early as they can, but another nice Poppy ult. A Gwen been on point with them this game. And that is looking like a 3rd inhibitor. Taking a flash ult out of Scott. They've gotten the knockup on a Tuesday. They're getting some damage here, actually. Blab getting some damage from deep, but it's a 1-for-1. Actually, Mr. Tuesday, a lot of defensive flashes coming out of EGD. Back in our day, still pushing this forward, but now Bestest One is turned. He is tanky, he is damagey, he has a Guardian Angel, and he has lowered everyone up back in our day. And there we go, the turn and the re-engage. The gold is too much, and enemy gate is down. Is going to close this game out. Even the series 1-1. Alright, folks, we'll be right back. Game 3 coming up in a moment, so stick around. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the production night from hell. SBL Season 11 Finals, series tied 1-1. As we have seen these teams for the third straight game take the same sides. Looks like Enemy Gate is down, very content to keep picking that red side. So we will see what changes here with the bans. So far, nothing.
I mean, nothing too surprising here. Those have all been big name champs for the other team. I have a lot of success with them. I'm a little surprised we don't see an Aurelia or Kaisa ban here to mix up for back in our day, though.
Yeah, back in our day, the same 3 bans they have banned every game, so they feel very confident in their preparation, and the same 3 bans as last game, 2 of the 3 same as every game from Enemy Gate is down, and once again, that Trundle first pick, which I do think is the correct pick. It not only makes sense given the power of the champ, it makes sense given how these teams play.
Yeah, Trundle, contested champ, like both these teams, both can use them very well. They kind of get brawly. Trundle gives back in our day really what they want to do.
But that's a Zyra Kaisa going over, so...
Yeah, you have to have, like... I mean, you had to have some kind of plan for it, right?
Yeah, and I
Because, like, you know
imagine
that's
they
what they're going to
did.
pick. You know that's exactly what they're going to pick. I mean...
Yeah, and I think that plan is going to be changing what they had Scotch doing. The Braum, very ineffective out of him. So I'm not surprised to see the Jinx. I don't think the Jinx was the problem. I just think change
I agree.
where you had Scotch playing as he was... There were a lot of bad trades he took in that bot lane that really snowballed that out of control. And yeah, they're actually going to go for a mid lane power pick instead. This Orianna has been a phase 2 ban in every game, so they want to secure that before it can be banned. So they are
I like that a lot. I am a big fan.
Yeah, same. This has been an
Like-
incredible pick every time Blab's gotten his hands on it this season.
It also just plays really well with the style of team back in our day is.
Yes, it does, but that's going to put some more pressure onto the pools of Scotch and Dario Chapman, who we see Ornn once again being picked by a Gwen like he had played in Game 1. Not too surprising, that's always been his go-to once the Maokai's off the board. And now we're going to see, finally, I imagine, a different Ban 2 phase. Well, at least for EGD here. As they'll take out the Darius they've taken out every game, and then something new.
Yeah, I mean, with everything mixed up, like, we had quite a few picks that were, you know, banned in second phase before, now being grabbed first phase. I do like the fact that we're seeing adjustments of draft strategy, at least in the second half of the phase.
Seems you left your brave pants at home. You want me to wait while you go get them?
Yeah, so it's actually going to be Poppy taken away, so they're thinking that's where Dario Chapman would have gone. They're not going to bother targeting Scotch's pool at all here. They feel the brand of the Zyra was enough damage to that poor man's support pool. So we'll see what Scotch is going to do. I'm not really too sure. His picks have been pretty varied this season.
Yeah,
And then,
I like their strategy though. This, like, we've really seen Scotch have his best success on the range caster supports, like especially that brand. It's oddly odd. Like, as someone who was a top lane tank player, you'd think he would gravitate towards like the playstyle of those melee brawler supports. But those definitely tend to be his weaker performances, or at least in what I've seen in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. And it puts back in our day into a weird spot here because with this comp, they probably would want a tanky support. So maybe they're going to go for something more forward tanky instead of back tanky. You know, the Leona has been a big pick that we've seen Scotch on a lot this season. That's what I'm predicting here, and that's the hover. Probably going to be the lock-in. It pairs so well with the Orianna. So
It works really well, and it gives them a way to better engage through the Zyra.
yes, it does. And it lets Scotch play, you know, forward League of Legends. Braum, for some people, it can be surprisingly difficult to play, but Leona, you're going to play her the same way you play so many other tanks in this game. Go forward, right-click, and press R on enemy carries. Win the game. And hopefully that's going to create enough lockdown with him and the Orianna that they're going to swap that Trundle up to top lane where Dario Chopman likes the matchup. They're giving Splinter his Hecarim.
That's a big pick. I like it. I think that's really solid. Trundle definitely has the ability to abuse Ornn in lane, as much as you know can really. And I mean, Master Splinter on Hecarim, that's an iconic player champ duo if there ever was one.
Yeah, it looks like he wants to create a little more ganking pressure. He's liked dueling, but he maybe needs to snowball this the old-fashioned way, as Master Splinter has been known to do. I like this. I like this a lot. We saw Dario Chopman really bullying a Gwen in the first game. He should have a good matchup here in this third game now.
User in your channel.
And so we're going to see a similar plan out of Back in Our Day. They're going to just try to do it better. We'll see if they're able to, because they are going up against a lot of the same
User
threats.
entered your
Fastest
channel.
one on the Aurelia, Mr. Tuesday on the Kai'Sa, hook resets on the Zyra. They want to take the lead in this series. Alright folks, we're going to quick mute things as we're just checking where we are at with some troubleshooting. You can see the countdown. I'll be leaving that up. We'll be back before this game starts. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the SBL Finals, where I think I've just swapped over to a game capture properly.
Keeping things interesting, you know. We have caster swaps, streamer swaps.
Learning OBS on the fly, boys.
Hell yeah, no better way to do it.
So if you happen to catch any issues, please, as I said, say something in Twitch chat and we'll get them fixed. We're loading into Game 3. In case you are just joining us, series is tied 1-1. as we had a just absolute madness in the first game, followed by an EGD stomp in the second game. We've seen some slight change-ups in this game 3 draft, but the 2 big power picks from the last game, Irelia and Kaisa for EGD, both selected again.
Yeah. This time, though, we see back in our day mixing up their champs by quite a good amount. Like, this comp plays drastically different from the last one, which I really like, because it did not. They didn't have a good time with the previous comp.
Yeah, I like this. Do not like this Master Splinter starting with no items. Do not like this. This is big. This is bad. Please notice. We've already had this once tonight. It's the finals.
Yeah, man, this is like...
And the jungle is the position that can least afford to do that.
Yes. Like, the item gives you your XP to hit level 2. Wait, no, it doesn't do that anymore, does it?
I don't fucking know, dude. They change what the jungle does like twice a year now.
Yeah.
But,
Good.
It's
But
looking
either
like
way.
he's not going to notice on time, and he is going to be behind, and that's bad.
Yeah. That is definitely something that can very much punish you. That's something you don't expect at all to happen. You don't expect anyone to have that happen to him. It's your damn items, you buy them, but not a player of Master Splinter's caliber, especially.
Yeah, it just shows how kind of enveloped in this series they are, thinking big picture stuff, you know, coming up with plans that you can forget something so routine. And he's probably just about now going to have a rude reminder. So we'll see how that affects him. But that's the kind of thing that can tilt you if you're a jungler, especially if you're feeling the pressure in the series. So we'll see what Master Splinter
as
does.
he smites and doesn't get level 2, realizes, fuck me, I need to go back and buy.
And at the same time, Renai takes a huge level 1 trade in this mid lane. Remember, this one has Ignite, so Renai's Circulation is going to have to play very smart here. Now we'll see.
Is rough.
Yeah, the Ignite comes down. Forces a flash out of Renai, and there's the level 2 advantage for the bestest one.
Yeah. Orianna can definitely manage this lane well, but you need to be very careful on those early levels in the all-in potential, and not respect that. And because of that now, Aurelia's just going to be able to roll this lane for the beginning couple of levels here.
So we'll see.
Very cool. That's you.
More of this, yeah, we'll see if it's more of the same in the mid lane. By the way, Master Splinter is still level 1.
Yeah, I mean, he had to recall. He's getting help now from Dario Chapman in his blue buff. So hopefully let him get level 2 here. But
well, if there's
not a pretty situation.
No, it's not. But I guess if there's one way to force back in our day to wait and scale up a bit, it's this kind of a disadvantage early.
Yeah, you don't really have the option to play it forward when your jungler is level 2 at 3 minutes, like just hitting.
Of course, there is an Infernal Drake on the menu, so we would normally see both teams want to play aggressively around that early. May be difficult for back in our day to do.
Yeah, Master Splinter definitely going to have to focus on his farm here for a little bit.
Yeah, Master Splinter currently down about 250 gold in the jungle matchup.
Yeah, as we see like a bit of dominance coming out of all these lanes here, just a solid 500 gold lead. Solely from CS, just like a small advantage in every single position.
Yeah, Dire Chapman having to leave top lane to go with Leash blue buff in the middle of laning phase definitely put them behind in the one matchup they were counting on winning.
Yeah.
And it looks like he did kind of get back to that lane and at least take the CS advantage, but he's still being pushed.
Yeah.
Renai does seem to have stabilized in the mid lane at least.
Yeah, he'll be able to, like, that lane will be able to stabilize at least. Like, the big thing is that it'll let Orange get that free back, like an unpunished back.
Yeah, and that's been a thing that we've seen in a lot of these games where Gwen has had the teleport back early.
Yeah, so actually, the fact that he didn't have to burn that teleport back early and he gets that free, you know, gets the cloth armor, get a bit of mana to help him with it, that could really change how this top lane goes.
Otherwise, team's just content to keep laning this one out. Advantage getting big in this mid lane already. Blabble gets some of this under his turret, but he's going to be very behind for the 5-minute mark. Although,
yeah, Dubdrum power farming like a madman though.
Yeah, Dubdrum is up. Oh my god, he's up 500 gold on Bash the Splinter.
Yeah, like he is almost level 6. Like he is fully content to just plow through as many as he can. He's gonna try to get 6 here.
Yeah, Bash
Put
the
that
Splinter
knockdown to quick use.
is still level 3. Wow.
They don't know that yet, actually.
No, they don't. That's the fortunate thing, because as soon as Dubdrum is aware, he is going to press the tempo. I know a lot of EXP comes from the Scuttle Crabs, which Master Splinter may have just been giving up because he's had no chance to fight.
Yeah, I think he has to, because like if he gets spotted doing the crab, like your best case scenario is Dubdrum realizes you are way lower level than me, and pulls him off and takes the crab, and then gets to exploit that whole advantage.
Salvo rooted the... Oh, good trade. And actually, Scotch going for some kills here. He's dropping an Ignite onto Mr. Tuesday. No, it's actually Hook resets to drop an Ignite into Scotch. Very close engagement there. But we do see Relia has pathed around, forces a flash out of Scotch, and now Salvo is stuck in a bad place. Gonna try to force a kill here. Pops his heal. He's trying to jake this one around. Diotropman is teleporting in, and Best One is actually very low. Salvo, though, Ignite ticking down. First blood, now the second. A Gwen teleport coming through. Diotropman wants the trade, but he plays way too aggressively onto someone with summoners available. 2 kills going over. Although Leona did drop the Ignite to get the kill on the Irelia. Master Splinter is now showing up, and now everyone on the map knows he is behind. Well, they see level 5, so maybe they don't realize just how far behind. Still, big win for EGD.
Yeah, he got a he hit level 5 off the XP of Bestest One dying nearby, and because the catch-up XP had pushed him to 5. And getting to soak that wave XP actually really good for him, because the man needs some XP.
Yeah, but still going to be a bit till he's level 6. Dubdrum has the darkness available.
Yeah, I imagine we'll probably be seeing that. Like, he knows both of them don't have, like, top and bottom. Like, he knows those 3 flashes are down.
Yeah, and looking like another nightmare early game for back in our day. We'll see if they're able to have the restraint not to contest things early. They're pretty much going to need to just give this first Infernal up on EGD's terms.
Yeah, I mean, there is some possibilities where you can get a good fight, or EGD just doesn't play it right. But based off, like, the tempo of the position and everything like that, that is their dragon. Like, if they set up, they get that dragon. Getting the bot wave pushed up. Dubdrum gonna sneak into that bush.
Yeah, and Salvo, on your knees, say a prayer, because you're gonna need all the help you can get here. No flash available.
Lot of patience. Lot of patience here from Dubdrum, though.
Master Splinter is making his way there. He is now level 6, so this could turn into a 3 versus 3 in the bot lane. Hook resets, just wants to land this there. There we go, the flash, the darkness. They have popped Salvo in the blink of an eye. Master Splinter is there, but Scotch is so low. A great knock aside on Splinter there, and they are not able to trade kills.
Yeah, it is a good thing Splinter was there, though, because otherwise that would have been a 2 for 0.
Yeah, unfortunately, with the health taken from Dubdrum, I don't know if they're going to be able to do this dragon. Although the Jinx Rocket did just whiff on the minimap, so... And now we see Gwen looking for a solo kill. He's getting the knock up here, but Shotman's going to just steal the tank stats, and it's hard to duel a Trundle.
Yeah, dude, when your stats become his, man, it's a rude life.
Yeah, but it looks like there was enough health remaining, so EGD go over, they take that Infernal, and they are just in total control of this early game for a second game in a row.
Yeah, on the positive end, Blab in a much better state against this Aurelia this game than last. He had the scare level. He had the level 1 scare, but this lane like barely stabilized actually for the Orianna.
Yeah, and he must feel very good about Orianna's tools to handle this matchup as we hit this mid game, which I would assume Orianna can handle being jumped a lot better than the Vel'Koz.
Yes, very much so.
Because they probably expected it to be this matchup when they picked Ori.
Yeah, I mean, especially if they left it open. You saw what that Aurelia did. I would be very surprised if we didn't see Best one pick it up again. It's the style of champion he likes to play, and obviously having great success on it.
So not much to say. Gold leads across the board still, as expected. As Recess has made his way towards this mid lane. They could be looking for a big fight here. Darkness coming through. They are diving this. A nice ult on the Orianna. Master Splinter and Renai! They popped Gumdrum in the blink of an eye. Now, Ornn coming from behind the tower. He is traded here, and it's going to be an easy 1-for-2 in favor of enemy gate is down.
Yeah, Master Splinter in the right position to stop that Nocturne ult, but the rest of enemy's gate is down, was ready to capitalize and counter the counter.
Yeah, watch it though. Salvo and Scotch have made their way to the mid lane. Hook Resets is definitely in some super mega death rocket territory right now.
Yeah, get an auto or to get one good auto on him. Rocket could take him out.
EGD's going to respect that. They're going to back off, take their win, get some pressure into the bot lane before Salvo and Scotch can get back there. Just keep accruing this gold lead up to nearly 3,000 gold here at the 12-minute mark. Although Renai does now have Luden's Echo, that's going to be a pretty big purchase as we start hitting this mid-game.
Yep, get some mana, get some CDR. Nice passive to boot. But things are going a bit better for him. Unfortunately, that dive does, you know, that helps snowball the bestest one in his favor. And things are slipping in every lane now.
Yeah. They're going to try to equalize things here in this top lane. Master Splinter with a proactive play. Dub Drum in the neighborhood, but no ult available. And that's going to be it. Shutdown gold going over to the pony.
Yeah, that's a shutdown they really needed. Choosing a not great flash, gonna be a bonus here, as they're gonna get a lot of damage onto this tower, if not just take it outright.
Yeah, they're gonna count on Blab to hold this mid lane, but
Paranoia almost up. As it comes up.
Oof, yeah, tries to pop the shockwave, but it doesn't even go off. And so they're gonna trade probably mid turret for top turret here. Dire Shotman is going to try to save it. Salvo tossed in the Super Mega Death Rocket, which nearly finished off the best this one. And actually, I think that the Shotman will hold in the mid lane. So,
yeah,
a win.
TP didn't take it.
Yeah, a win for back in our day.
Does. And like you said, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but yeah, that's a win for back in our day. Kill tower greater than kill.
And so the game pace a little accelerated here, but this is the best state they've been in really since game one, it feels like. And now here we go, Scotch going forward. Master Splitter in the neighborhood, dodges around, gets onto Hook Resets. Now they've got a nice line on the Mr. Tuesday. This should be an easy double kill. They're passing over to... No, fuck you, Salvo. Master Splitter's getting caught up by any means necessary. Scotch and Master Splinter each taking a kill, and now there's going to be huge damage on this bot lane. This is a Jinx, the fastest tower taker in the game.
This tower's toast. Like, this is the second tower for them. And all of a sudden, gold's even. But map pressure, their favor.
Yeah, this is not a repeat of game one. This is a great situation for back in our day. Master Splinter has done a phenomenal job of bouncing back. There are players in this league who would have lost this series outright over that level 1. And Master Splinter has stabilized this disaster. He's actually pulled ahead of gold on Double Drum, although he is still behind on EXP. But Back in Day can feel great about this going late because they have a Jinx, they have Orianna with a Leona or a Hecarim to combo. And they haven't already lost the game.
Yeah. Honestly, it's just like looking at this comp versus their comp last game. This comp I like way more, just like all across the board.
I am definitely talking myself into it here, as we do see both these teams kind of heading towards the Dragon Pit. This is a second Infernal, and yeah, Gwen not going to waste any time. He is teleporting right in, so there will be 10 bodies available, as I expect EG to just start this. Well, thought they were going to start this Dragon up immediately, and there it comes. Back in Our Day, setting up to fight. This is going to be our first gigantic team fight of the game, as Scotch playing aggressively. Call of the Forge God coming through from Gwen. It only stops Master Splinter. A nice Leona ult, but there's not much to capitalize. But here we go. Orianna and Hecarim going forward. They've taken out a Gwen. Salvo, Unctest in the backline. The Irelia is down for the first time ever, it feels like. Now Back in Our Day, rushing this one forward. The Super Mega Death Rocket gets the snipe, and it's a 1 for 4 in favor of Back in Our Day. They're turning back to the Infernal.
If the momentum wasn't in their favor after taking those 2 towers to the top of bot, it sure is now. They've secured the gold lead for the first time this game. Kill lead, and now going to match the Dragon, giving an Inferno for both sides.
Yeah, oh! Oh, Hook resets, you're so greedy! Trying to farm under the turret, Blab trades his flash for some more kill gold, and now an easy turret take. They're gonna even try to pressure for 2 with the Jinx. They might be able to do it.
Jinx and Orianna both take towers rather quick here. Trundle no slouch himself. That's gonna be a second tower, just to add insult to injury here.
Oh, just a disaster for Enemy Gate is down. They were in so much control early, but now it is Back in Our Day that have grabbed this game by the reins.
The wheels falling off at every turn here as what looked like a solid set place now quickly gone.
There is still some gold in the inventories. Salvo and Dario Chapman both at about 1,500. Splinter at 1,000. So that could be a bad sign if they fight here. But they do see Tuesday in the bot lane, and maybe they want their guaranteed fight. Call of the Forge God coming through, but it's flashed by Salvo. Chapman trying to just slow things down on the side, and Blab is roamed in. Blab and Salvo doing so much damage, they've already picked up 2 for their team. A Gwen is super low, trying to dodge around, but there's a pony. You can't dodge a man walking on top of you, and it's a double kill for Salvo. A triple kill over to Back in Our Day, and they're going to ram it back down mid.
Yeah, I have no doubt in my mind that they can take this tower here as well. Mr. Tuesday and Hooker says odds are stacked against him to hold this tower here, as we're going to see a pre-20-minute inhibitor tower going down and an inhibitor match.
Yeah, I am just in awe of how fast this game blew open. And that to me, that was a panicked play to begin with out of EGD. They did not have their AD carry there. They knew they would not get their AD carry there. And they tried so hard to pick a top laner.
They reached really far. And they got, just completely crushed by that.
And now Back in Our Day is finally going to spend this mountain of gold they're sitting on. Salvo 2,600, Shotman 22, Scotch Splinter with a lot of gold as well. We're going to see some big purchases come through here.
Yeah, this here going to create a lot more pressure here, as we're just going to see this game continue to snowball in favor. Very much the opposite of last game.
By the way, third dragon, not coming up soon, but it will be another Infernal. So the pace of this game is going to stay very fast. As Back in Our Day, they're going to go take a Rift Herald, it looks like. Because why not? The easiest objective on the map here. Continue their siege options where Rift Herald and Jinx will shred through a turret if they get to it. I was about to call out Splinter for leaving the pit, and then I remembered Trundle was Chop Man. Alright, so Rift Herald on the menu. There's a big wave pushing 4 back in our day in the bot lane. Supers in the mid lane, and a full team with a Herald going up to the top lane. A great chance to keep this tempo down. This is game 3 with the series tied 1-1 right now. And now Hook resets, maybe being caught in no man's land. A zoning Zarya ult, but the Zyra does barely get out. Blab doesn't hit as many as before with the ult, but Splinter is still doing so much damage on the backline. Already found 2. The Call of the Forge God was good to stop the bleeding. Bestest One has to try to reestablish land. Bestest One is going very big here. He gets 1, he gets 2, he gets 3, and the Bestest One does what he was doing last game. They've aced back in our day.
Just as fast as we saw them take the reins, Bestest One clapping back, 7-3-3. Now the man will not be put down without a fight.
Yeah, Hook resets just barely makes it out of that engagement, and then he's able to lay down some damage in CC on the second half of that fight for a giant turn, and Bestest One has now reestablished himself as a monster in this game. Still, though, back in our day, obviously not happy with that fight, but probably happy with the place this game is at. They still should feel in control. I do think they're going to outscale. But they obviously have to still keep playing smart League of Legends.
Yeah. Not nearly as much of a tempo swing back as like the one they grabbed here. The game definitely winnable for both these teams. But back in our day, having that base cracked over, that inhibitor down, sets them overall in favor. But they're going to be very careful about this Aurelia.
So we do see Scotch and Splinter are making their way towards the Dragon Pit. They're going to establish some vision. Like we said, we expect this Infernal to be hotly contested. It's 5 seconds on this Dragon spawn. Actually, Dump Drum is pretty far away from this pit. If there's a fast start here, I think back in our day, just steals this Infernal.
Yeah.
And EGD get caught just not being proactive enough. That was an Infernal in a fairly close game. I am surprised that EGD wasn't actively preparing to contest that.
Yeah. It seems like even though they did win that last fight, like they realized they're not in the driver's seat here, and it kind of makes them hesitant to act.
Yeah, and like you were saying earlier, you know, when EGD's being proactive, it's great, but this is looking like the hesitant EGD again. And, I mean, that's a big part of what cost them in the first game, which went super, super late.
But now they have that inhib back up, don't have to worry about pushing super minions out of the mid wave.
Yes, they have stabilized a lot. So now we'll see what they're able to do here. This top lane turret already fairly low, as we do see Irelia channeling a recall. They're going to give up this turret because it was only 1 hit, lower than I had realized. And they're going to defend the base with Irelia at their back. But back in our day, maybe going to just keep setting up pressure, start looking towards this Baron as the next big objective. As they have a lot of this vision, they're denying a red buff.
I imagine, like, you got like 3 big plays you can go for. You can either go for the middle inhibitor because it's open, the last outer turret, or the Baron. I think the last outer turret is definitely the wrong call no matter what, just because of the fact that Baron is a playable skin.
Alright, but they see the play here. Master Splinter goes forward. They want to pick the Irelia, but he's making it out. The Steric Shield, maybe enough, but the Call of the Forge God coming in on the back line. It's got some knockups, but they've taken out that scary Irelia. But at what cost? Salvo Zone very violent. Oh! Blabberward with the Renai! Oh, the shockwave of his life, and now Salvo is autoing. He's resetting. It's been a 1 for 4, and I think back in our day just won.
That's the game-winning shockwave. You have 1 man down, you hit the other 4 with the shockwave, that wins games.
What an incredible game from back in our day. The resilience to bounce back from a disaster at the start, as I and you just learned how important it is for a jungler to start with items. And now, these are short respawn timers, though. Best one's going to be up in 1-0. Tuesday in 5. Jinx is shredding through things, but oh, hook resets, gets caught from long range, and any chance of a miracle play on the Nexus is taken off the board. Back in our day, forced match point.
And an absolutely stunning comeback. There's no way I would have expected them to have won that game in 25 minutes. Like, looking at the 10-minute mark, no way.
Microphone muted. Microphone activated.
So that's going to do it, guys. We'll be back in just a moment with Game 3. Once again, for those of you just tuning in. Game 4, yes. For those of you just tuning in, we have unfortunately had some major spectator server issues, so we've got the backup production running tonight. But we'll be back in just a moment. I believe we're going to be swapping some cash this round as well, so stay tuned. Whew. Whew. Fuck, dude. This has been a finals. Alright, I'm going to go pee real fast before we get into this next one. Alright. That's awkward. Oh, it's just Mike? I don't think they can hear you. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. The SBL Finals going into Game 4 with Back in Our Day leading 2-1. Once again, if you were just tuning in, we have had some unfortunate spectator server issues tonight, so we are on our B production. But that does not stop this from being a hell of a series.
It's definitely been a pretty interesting series between the ability of the team that's typically ahead to actually close out. Looks like Dive the Fountain has had some struggles for actually navigating themselves to an win when they are ahead. But it seems like back in our day when they get a lead, they try to go ahead and press that to the very end most times.
Yeah, and for the 4th straight game, we see these teams on the same side. Back in our day, it takes blue when they have selection, and EGD has taken red every time. As back in our day, dropping the same 3 bans for the 4th consecutive game. Not a surprise, they're coming off a win, so I wouldn't have expected it to change now of all times. And it's the same first 3 bans as the last 2 games. 2 of the
Are we
same
going to get a
bans.
Trundle first pick yet again?
Yes, we are. Absolutely. Where it's going, who knows, but it is going to be on Back in Our Days roster. As now we see, what does EGD do? You know, I can see the case for them playing the exact same team, or a very similar one, and just saying, like, don't fuck up our lead. But I don't know if they're going to do that. This is a very confidence-driven team, and they might not have the confidence to make all of the same picks again.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everyone on their team is kind of emotionally driven except Cody. He just thinks he's the best at all situations. So, I mean, right now he's probably totally unfazed, which is probably their only strong point. But, yeah, Mr. Tuesday, hook resets, and even Hibbs is still pretty emotionally driven there with how they approach a lot of their games with their unfortunate loss, or even last time it was pretty much a slamming.
Well, they are going to opt out of the Zyra here, so I think that we have to see Back in Our Day pick the Zyra, as I don't want to see Scotch go deeper into his champion pool. And that could have thrown a big wrench into the plan for EGD, or sorry, for Back in Our Day. I like the mix-up, and I like to pick out a Blab. That Orianna has been fantastic. These are some very difficult picks, actually. There's a lot of things I want to see Back in Our Day pick here, and they can only pick 2 of them.
Yeah, and I'm wondering actually if Trundle is actually going to end up going top lane, just because they do have that ability to flex it between top lane and jungle. So I'm really kind of wondering how they're going to round out their comp here. Oh, never mind.
Well,
Spoils
they're
immediately.
going to answer that for us, so they're going to open their bot lane up to some bans here. So we'll see where they're going to go. I think the Zyra ban's a guarantee. It's just a question of, do they ban Jinx as well? I'm thinking they will.
Jinx's performance in Game 2 was pretty unconvincing, and I think that she's a little slow to scale up, but unfortunately these games have actually been going pretty long most times.
Yeah,
So
I do think...
might have to.
I just think that... I don't know if there's any other logical ban to drop. I can understand if they're not concerned about it, but also Salvo can turn into a bit of a monkey once you take him off the Jinx. We've seen him do well enough on the Sivir. I don't know what the 3rd Salvo champ is on this current patch. And so that's my thought process. And then the Zyra, like we said, we expected that since it's been a steal away pick early in every draft.
Oh, they banned the Skarner. I was like, what was... Last man, you probably should go for a Jinx. Oh, they go for Morgana?
Yeah, so they're taking away that Morgana support they would be thinking potentially picked.
Looks like they're probably going to go for a heavy dive comp. They just really don't want to have any build for the ADCs, and Splinter's somebody who definitely never peels, and Trundle's also not necessarily a very peeling champion when he's playing in top lane. Definitely going to go a little more damage-oriented, bruiser style, so...
Yeah, it makes sense
Probably
if you expect to be up against Orianna Jinx, you know, dive the fuckers. So we'll see what these last picks are going to be, as Vladimir has been a phase 2 ban every game out of Back in Our Day, so not super surprised. And it's going to be Gnar coming through, so that's, I imagine, going to fare a bit better into the Trundle than the Ornn did.
Yeah, I would definitely hope so. I'm unsure about how he's going to perform, because Gnar is actually a pretty lackluster champion in solo queue right now. Actually rocking 46% win rate. So,
and it's also a drastically different pick than what we normally see a Gwen do.
He's definitely played all of those champions that are pretty much just, I don't care about my performance. I want to make sure my team can win and carry me, so I will play whatever my team needs. But maybe trying to have top lane not get, played around or be able to have a bad matchup here is going to be super
User in
valuable.
your channel timed out.
Uh-oh.
It's 30. He comes and goes. So
Okay.
it is going to be, back in our day, rounding things out with the Braum. I was very critical of it after game 1. I don't think this has been a good Scotch pick. But we'll see.
No.
It makes sense with the comp here. And also the bans that have come. So we'll see how it goes. Can't really go much worse than game 2, as things are going to be closed out with best this one on the Ziggs.
I really don't like the Ziggs pick because, pretty much all season what Renai Circulation's game plan has been just to farm until mid-game, where hopefully I have a lot of, damage and items, and my rest of my team has gotten scaled up. Ziggs doesn't really bring that kill pressure like he did with the Irelia pick, and some of this kind of series here, where he's definitely been able to at least apply pressure mid lane and definitely make Renai Circulation feel comfortable. So I was really hoping for something more aggressive here in this game.
We'll see what he does with the Ziggs pick. It's was banned a lot this series, but obviously bans against Renai Circulation, so it looks like they just really wanted to get themselves some wave clear or some long range damage to try to soak up the Hecarim and the Trundle Dive.
Yeah, and the good thing also is, when it comes to team fights too, Ziggs does have the minefield, which can at least try to slow down the Hecarim and Trundle who want to run at them. There's that. He does have the W to try to push them back. Also, the Q is pretty long range, so maybe that'll help when it comes to team fights, but I can't see a lot of good Ziggs here in this specific player matchup.
Yeah, so this is it. I know I was starting to say it before, but we will really see just what happens to the players on EGD with their backs against the wall. They're down. They have to win 2 straight to win this finals, and I do think they were heavy favorites going into tonight. I know I'd been predicting back in our day, but I do think EGD were moderately heavy favorites going into this match. And so far, back in our day, shown up.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. EGD was, the favorites going into this. I don't really see anybody that particularly stands out on the. I'm sorry. Yeah. EGD. Sorry. Yeah, it was the favorites. I wasn't too. See anybody stand out on back in our day team, other than Master Splinter throughout this year. Nobody's really kind of stepped up and showed they're going to really be the secondary player that's going to really help bring them home. Because you can see with Dire Shotman top lane, he had a Scion game in the first game going 2-8, and then you have some other games where he's actually pretty well ahead. You had a game in our series where he actually was able to just slaughter Freg. But then, in some other games, when he played against On the Wind, he went even to sometimes even losing it some portions of his lane, then back to winning. So he's kind of been really jumpy all over the place. Renai Circulation, never really the player to win the game. And Salvo, well, there's not really much to say about Salvo, really.
Not much to say other than he got to pick Jinx 3 times in the finals. Who would have go back to week 2 and tell me that's how this season was going to end? I would have never believed it. It's crazy how things develop over the course of a full season.
From team comp alone, for this game, I gotta say, I think that back in our day probably has actually worser comp overall, but I think they're gonna be able to use it a lot more effectively just because of their players and their play styles. I don't really believe that Nara's gonna get ahead enough to make him an actual game deciding champion. And I think there needs to come a lot out of that Nara to make him actually use his pick instead of just picking the tank to help his team set up and kind of let Dubdrum have a more aggressive champion.
Yeah, and I know I was saying before that to me point of loss on the map I was worried about was Scotch on that Braum. Fortunately for him, he's going up against a Leona this time, not going to be laning against the Zyra that just punishes him for being in the lane. So hopefully for back in our day, they're not going to see Scotch fall to those gigantic deficits early.
They brought him into a lot of anybody that's ranged or has a lot of harass. Absolutely horrible. But into melee champions, he's actually extremely strong. So it's just because he can typically W onto a minion, slap them around real quick, and kind of punish them for short range, obviously.
All right, game 4, loading in for the second time this series. All 10 players have started with items.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
I hope that's a good sign.
Definitely say in one of my games we did not.
30 seconds until
Alright, so
minions
back in
spawn.
our day, going to go for an invade a little earlier than the last time they did this exact same play. They're going to walk right into Mr. Tuesday. They do get the Braum Q onto Tuesday, but Splinter's going to whiff the Q of his own. I don't think they're going to get the stun off. They were not willing to trade flashes there.
Honestly, that's just great composure out of Tuesday there. Most people just flash immediately once they pick with that Braum slow. And that was actually really crucial for them in this lane. Try to be able to be aggressive early levels with the Kai'Sa and Leona lane to have that flash up and right. All he has to do now is just take an extra back and have the jungler start topside.
Yeah, and especially for Hook and Tuesday, every single game they've rushed to 2 and they've had the opportunity to make a play. Some games bigger than others, but they've always taken one of those big trades. And you want to have that flash available in case you get the chance to all in. So, we'll see. Look at this, Master Splinter. Gonna hit level 2. He's all grown up. And the laning phase begins.
I think it's actually pretty great, actually, about the invade that actually kind of forced Poppy to go top lane. It'd actually be super beneficial for the bottom lane of EGD. Because now they get to obviously rush that lane and start that process to the level. So, that invade actually kind of worked out in the favor of EGD. Didn't lose any summoner spells. Got to know where the enemy junglers most likely start because of the wards, and the bottom lane gets slow.
Yeah, so we'll see what they do here with that control in the bot lane. There's the level 2, there's the jump onto Salvo, there's the stun, and a lot of damage onto that Jinx and onto that Braum. Yet again, Salvo and Scotch, they're never going to learn at this point. We know what we're going to get with them.
And this is the part of the game here now where Splinter is in top river. Going to be level 3 here, I think, in one more camp, I believe here. It's going to be crucial for the top lane matchup between Gnar and Trundle here. Be able to get a gank and early pressure off in top lane. Poppy's going to path toward bottom lane. That's where the rest of her camps.
Yeah, what is Poppy's early game plan going to look like? Is there going to be much pressure?
It's pretty good. Most times the early game is better when it's directed toward top lane, because top lane you only deal with one person and you have your laner, so typically you're going to do a 2v1 or 2v2. So it's something better to gank toward top lane. For how they're looking to set this up, it looks like they're just trying to get Poppy to farm up, hit 6, and just play for...
Here we go, the Ignite gets dropped out, Scotch flashes out, but it's still a first blood over to Tuesday. That's rough stuff for the back in our day Island. They were under pressure the whole time, and they just can't stop perspective. But Splinter's going to try to equalize things in this mid lane. Fastest one flashed out, but he is still on top of that pony, trying to trade, not able to. Renai gets himself on the board very early.
I was going to say, this game was set up lovely for EGD for a second. Their bottom lane gets a kill here without jungler assistance, and top lane had a huge advantage a little bit ago as far as on the health bar. But then there's that gank mid lane, which I'm not sure why he didn't just flash the
Yeah, players, sometimes they get in their own heads a bit when they're dealing with the Hecarim. They think they don't have to be that concerned because he doesn't bring as hard a CC, and then suddenly they're much deader than they had planned on being. And now
that health bar hits 0. Pretty unfortunate.
and now
I will say though, I'm actually pretty impressive with Swain's Gnar play so far. He's definitely been abusing the range advantage and making sure he contests pretty much as much CS as possible for Brandon. Definitely not letting Brandon build up that big CS lead he typically likes to have in a lot of his lanes.
Yeah, but I'm actually concerned that the CS is even at the 5-minute mark here. This should be the Gnar bully phase, and Shotman's been keeping it dead even this whole time. He is going to be at teleport disadvantage, or he's going to save his teleport, so he's going to be down a little CS here. But
We're going to miss that wave there.
I would have expected more pressure out of Gnar in this matchup.
I definitely think you should, but I think just because he didn't have his jungler near topside at all, probably can't pressure too hard, unfortunately, just because I would expect Splinter to go top lane. That's pretty much what he does every season. It's I'm gonna camp the shit out of top lane, and then I'm gonna go and clean up the rest of the lanes afterwards.
Yeah, and that might be what Gwen was thinking, which would make some sense. And he's not in a rush here. They know they can kind of take their time to get up. But Match Splinter coming in on the mid laner. No flash available. They're going to put some really good damage down. Well, they're going to put some damage down. Good jump away from the Ziggs.
Definitely going to tone down the aggressiveness that's in a lot of the best assist one's lanes. Constantly be pressuring because he doesn't have flash, and he just came back twice already now.
Mad Cow starting to get the pressure going in the top lane. He's going to have a big wave pushing forward, so he should be able to bounce this off tower in a moment. He's on the bot lane. Tuesday keeping that CS lead about where it was. Junglers both not doing a whole lot. They're content to just keep scaling up for now.
I think everybody kind of is making sure they just play super safe this game after last game on both sides, even just because one, they don't want to lose their lead, and two, they didn't have too much of a good showing in the last game for EGD.
Yeah, I want to see, now that the ults are starting to become available, I want to see what EGD does, because that's going to be the tell for how this game is going. When we see EGD being proactive, trying to create plays, they play well. But are they scared because they're down, waiting to react to plays? In which case, I think this series will be over.
I'm really hoping that Dub Drum goes top lane actually does something in that Gnar Trundle lane, because Gnar's been doing pretty well to apply pressure early, but you can definitely see that Wayne is definitely kind of taking a little more of a passive approach here as the lane's starting to kind of progress, where Trundle's gotten his ultimate finally and can really go toe-to-toe with him if he goes in an all-out fight.
Yeah, and I think in a vacuum that back in our day is very content with how this top lane has gone.
Definitely. He's not even down CS at this point, so
but now,
it's definitely looking pretty good.
Level 6s have come through for Hook and Tuesday. Scotch just now dinging level 5. So this could be a window here with ults available.
Yeah, and it looks like Splinter is going to be coming bottom lane for the lane gank, with now Dub Drum being top lane. If Dub Drum shows top lane, their bottom lane is unfortunately going to definitely get killed here.
Yeah, Splinter does have that ghost available, so he can go all out here.
Looks like they spotted him, but I don't.
Yeah, now Oriana's roaming as well. They're about to show. Yeah, Oriana just now shows on that lane ward. But there's the Hacker going fast. Got the ball. They're going to take the free kill on Hook Resets, or maybe not. Can they get more CC? Now Hook Resets very low. A nice heal comes through, and Hook Resets, Summoner's blown, but he's able to walk out.
That was a 200 IQ play by Renai Circulation to save the enemy support, to pull him back from where he was getting pushed into. Allowed him to get out with a flash.
Yeah, a little bit of miscoordination there out of back in our day. Cost them a kill. But still, big Summoners down. That's a flash and a heal. Especially that flash on Leona. Going to take a lot of the proactive plays off the menu for EGD. And at the least, back in our day, do get this Ocean Drake nice and early when it counts the most. Especially up on that top lane. I'm sure they'll be very happy to have some extra sustain.
Kind of sad there was really no play top lane when they did show 4 people bottom, and they used a lot of abilities. I'm kind of thinking that this CS lead that's barely there of 5 or so at a time is not really gonna favor the Gnar if Trundle's able to just be able to get tanky and become annoying.
Yeah, I think Chopman is just getting happier by the minute with how this top lane is going. But there still is a gold lead for EGD. They do have some a big CS lead in the bot lane, so where most of that lead's coming from. So I know we've been talking about all the good the back nine day is doing, but they are very winning in this bot lane. 20 CS in 10 minutes is a pretty substantial lead.
And being up a kill still too. Even and after you had your jungler come down and pretty much bringing their mid laner and the jungler down to really go for broke on that gank, and unfortunately a little bit of miscommunication actually ruined it.
Yeah, still about a 650 gold lead for Mr. Tuesday's Kaisa. Is the entirety of their team's gold lead. As now we do see both junglers making their way towards the bot lane. We could see a big 3v3 here, as now everyone is aware of Splinter. They are just now finding out the Dub Drum's there with a nice stand aside. I think this is going to just be totally disengaged.
That was a great counter game by Dub Drum. Probably one of the best things he's done all game, and just by the fact that he actually was matching Splinter. Pretty much him and Splinter have been spending spending time on opposite side of the map consistently. When Dub is top lane, he's usually bot, and vice versa.
It's looking like they want to dive. They knocked the Braum away, but Splinter was still in the neighborhood, so that was a odd choice of play. They were
that
maybe
was
hoping
interesting to say the least.
Yeah, they must have been hoping that Splinter had backed off, but yeah, not effective. So this very slow early game continues. This is the slowest pace any of these early games have been. As Dub Drum is still in the bot lane. He's really spent a lot of time down there for no game. And honestly, Dub Drum not having the greatest series tonight. I know you can ask him all day. He'll tell you how much he loves shutting up Splinter in the 1v1. But this has definitely been a Splinter-dominated series as far as the jungle goes.
Yeah, it's actually kind of sad to see Cody talk about himself being the best jungler in the SPL here, and really just kind of not show up in any of his games, especially not in the early game. He hasn't been doing much of anything.
Yeah, it has been very sad because there's so much legacy with these two junglers. You know, by far the best two junglers in this league, and they've traditionally had some very good matchups between them. But tonight has not been Dub Drum's night.
And they typically also been one of the more kind of aggressive junglers where they really force the issue. They want to kill somebody. And it looks like only Splinter really has that drive to actually force people to start respecting the fact that, hey, there is Ackerman, or hey, there's Poppy with Predator to run your ass down in lane. You need to play passive, but fortunately it's only the Hacker that's being really aggressive at this time.
Things being equalized in the spot lane. That's actually a pretty nice trade on a Tuesday. It's going to really lower the all-in potential while he's ticking away at some health pots. The slow early game continues. Maybe they have a drink. There we go. The flash coming out of Hooky says, but that was on the Scotch. Maybe not the player he wanted, but a nice Leonel coming out. Scotch very low. Salvo very low. But the damage is being very split here, but it may not matter. Mr. Tuesday gets the kill. He gets the double. And Dire Chopman's coming through. He wants to try to equalize this, but I don't think he's going to have a chance to. He's just pulled Gnar down into this bot lane in a very aggro TP out of Chopman. Ends up being a bit of a waste as now Poppy's pushing his top lane in. But this is big for EGT. We saw the last time Scotch played Braum. He fell behind and he didn't know what to do with the champ. And now 0-2, he is starting to fall behind.
Oh my god.
Well, I guess that's how many resources the Dub Drum has to commit to disengaging Splinter. It's the ult.
Yeah, that was actually such a such a really good play by EGD to make sure they like, those two kills alone were pretty impressive. They even had their mid laner come down low, just throw the ultimate as an insurance policy, and then they matched the teleport immediately. And we're able to peel for the ADC to get out clean and not give up a shutdown goal to the enemy top.
Now Renai, surprised by a hook roam, has to flash and cleanse out of that one. And we're starting to see hook resets looking like he's maybe going to be the one that can take this game over, as he's been playing very well on this Leona.
Yeah, and when hook resets is ahead, he knows how to push these leads to the absolute max. And like I said, he's entirely confidence-driven, entirely, almost early game focused. If his early game is good, they're probably going to win the game. If his early game is pretty bad, I'm not very convinced they're coming back. So this is huge for EGD because he's been the catalyst for the majority of his teams that he's played on, as far as he gets them ahead, keeps them ahead, and closes out these games.
Yeah, now Dub Drum is here in this bot lane. They are looking for the play. They have already dove onto Scotch, and they are going to just leave Scotch out to dry. There is no saving him. Salvo needs to play very careful. Meanwhile, this top lane, Splinter wants to try to match this, because if they get the kill, they're going to get some big damage onto the turret. The Super Mega Death Rocket does not quite get the finish onto hook resets, and the turrets are going to be traded.
Ooh, they managed to get that first blood turret, though. Even with the Herald being popped top lane.
Yes, and now Fastless One has made his way over. I think they're going to just let Shelly crash that turret once and get out. They have had some misplays stand too long on a turret push this series. But now we've definitely an accelerated phase of this game. Going back to Scotch for a bit, 0-3-0. He's level 7 currently. Going to be very squishy. Will this be a repeat of game 2 where he was a big catalyst for his team losing? So we go hook resets with a good bait in the bush, but this is an Ocean Dragon, so I don't think that's it's going to be as high of a priority for back in our day to get around to contesting this. Obviously, Splinter not on the right side of the map, and I don't expect too many proactive resources committed to an Ocean Dragon at 17 minutes, so they're going to even those up. Ocean to Ocean. So Team Gold about 1,500 in the favor of EGD right now. Taking another look at Gold, pretty much exclusively on Mr. Tuesday still, as he's up about 1,600 gold on Salvo right now. So that accounts for the whole damn team lead.
I gotta say that Mr. Tuesday has probably been one of the more underrated players that have performed this season, especially in ADC role. I know he's probably playing maybe one of the best supports in the league here, but he's definitely done very well in terms of keeping his lead he does get with Cal, and definitely not throwing him away at any point.
I've been very impressed with Mr. Tuesday tonight. I thought this season that a lot of his success came from being set up by his team, but in a night where I think some of his teammates are underperforming, he is playing some of his best games of the season. He's definitely deserves to be happy with how he has played so far tonight. But all of that might not matter if his team's not able to force a game 5. And a big part of that is going to be on his back. As we do see the split push coming through in the bot lane. Dub Drum on the flank, a nice Leona ult coming through. Scott's going to do some good disengaging though. The Braum ult is finally a success. But there is a health advantage in favor of enemy Gate is down right now. They are trying to get Splinter onto this bot lane turret. Will EGD try to siege? Just looking like they will not, as they're sending Dub Drum down to match Splinter in the bot lane. Ooh, Scotch getting chunked out though. He might have the recall here. As Chopman sees the pillar, but he's pretty split from his team. They get a one-man pull onto hook resets, and now they're looking for it, but they are also low. The Ziggs ult has to be flashed, And there are so many blinking health bars from both sides here. But back in our day, they want to keep their bodies here. They want to hold this turret. Master Splinter has finally rejoined his team.
And it's kind of seen that Triforce being a first build item on Trundle is kind of not going to be what their team needs, because you can see right there, Trundle wanted to be aggressive, wanted to kind of start a play there and really get on hook resets because he was the easy start to get to, and he couldn't even survive being in that fight for that long. He got chunked out immediately. It was really a huge lack of resistances and health, honestly. And he's going into another offensive item, probably going to be a Ravenous Hydra, maybe a Titanic, but it's going to be a really awkward mid game for Trundle, and trying to answer this Gnar here who has a Black Cleaver and is looking to build a frozen mallet here to chase down Trundle to make sure he can either kite him for days or chase him down for days.
Yeah, Gwen going all in on that offense. Don't give the Trundle the stats to steal in the first place. So I'm curious to see what Mad Cow's plan to get involved in this game is going to be, because I agree completely with you. I don't see where he's going, but we're gonna have a quick leg. And, maybe one last time, guys, I'd like to break down our sponsors. In case you've ever wanted to buy yourselves some high-quality, custom-molded sex toys, I cannot recommend Bad Dragon enough. They have a plethora of dragon cocks you could shove into anywhere a dragon cock may fit. The highest quality, a variety of sizes, shapes, colors. They're honestly very pretty to look at. I can't recommend them enough, and they have been fantastic to us for all 6 years we've been running this league. I'd also like to shout out our sponsor, Water. It's free unless you pay for it, and I have been consuming a lot of that free stuff tonight with solo casts and whatnot. Water has really been an MVP of this bee production.
Stay hydrated.
It's good for you. It's the healthiest thing you can all do to your life. Drink more goddamn water. You basement dwelling nerds.
Nothing quite like a nice warm, room temperature water bottle, dude.
Dude, fuck yeah, cold water overrated. That's a hill I'm willing to die on. I think room temperature water or slightly below is the optimal way to consume your water. And man, that's how I know I'm getting old. I start craving the water now.
I think once I went to college, started having to pay for things. That's when I started thinking, you know what, water's really cheap and it's everywhere. I'm gonna have that.
Yeah, no more 12 cans of Mountain Dew to go with gaming night. I get sick just thinking about it.
At some point, that was the best moment of your life, and you're just thinking, Jesus, how we have evolved since then.
Alright, so I think real quick we're having people reestablish their Discords. That should hopefully just be a sec here, as I think everyone's reconnected. Just troubleshooting mics.
Wouldn't be the last SBL game if we didn't have an a ridiculously long pause.
Oh, I'm hoping not. I'm hoping not. There's been enough technical issues for one championship.
The thing that I see coming is in Game 5 we make it there. There's going to be a nice crash on somebody's side, and we're going to have to replay that game entirely.
Ooh. Just award the championship. Take away another one of TFF's bans while we're at it.
Please don't take anybody else's bans away. You'll never hear the end of it. Anytime I talk to Dan, It's all about those bands.
Oh, I am aware.
All right, when do we start streaming some Osu on the game while we're waiting for them to go ahead and step it up? I've been told the majority of the community is extremely fond of Osu.
I guess while we're getting this figured out, I am gonna mute real fast. So once you start hearing the sweet, sweet sounds of my voice, you'll know the game's about to go live. So stay tuned, guys.
Microphone muted.
Game has been unpaused.
Microphone
I got
activated.
bad news for ya.
Oh no.
We're gonna be paused again in a moment here. Master Splinter is giving me spoilers from the future.
Microphone muted. Microphone activated.
Alright. Well, we are back. I'm gonna let hopefully 30 deal with this one as we've got a few minutes of action to cast here. So we'll see where this goes.
A summoner has
And, well, that didn't last long. So, guys, we're going to mute this again as we're apparently trying to figure out some time constraints as this goes late. So we will be back in just a moment. Alright folks, we're back, and hopefully with no more internet issues, as you may have just seen our entire private conversation between myself and Master Splinter, who did not realize I was streaming, as I guess that would be news to the players. But we are back, and hopefully not going to have any further issues. So, we've got, we're 22 minutes in here. About a 2,000 gold lead for EGD. It's been a while since the action. So EGD.
There's a 5-man coming for this poor rat down here.
Oh, Gwen is in a dangerous place as Back in Our Day has had all day to set this play up, but EGD is making the rotation over to Baron Nashor. But how much will they lose for this? Baron is going down very slowly, and that is a Jinx that's going to be pushing in this bot lane. They're just about to touch onto this tier 2. Baron is still at 7,000 health, going down very slowly. This could be inhibitor turrets, and Gwen will not be spawning for another 15 seconds to defend. Baron still not down. Super Mega Death Rocket going. Does not hit Baron. Salvo shoots it in the wrong place. Now Baron has come through, but that is 3 turrets and an inhibitor traded for it. I do not think that was worth it.
What the fuck was that?
And it looks like that was the play EGD wanted to make after 20 minutes of pause, or maybe they were just tilted. But Back in Our Day used the pause very effectively, as they are now setting up a bait around Dragon. Oh, they want to break some backs here, even though they are sitting on mountains upon mountains of Smog's golds.
And they do have a nice way building. I mean, it's going to be bottom lane. It's going to die, unfortunately, beforehand, but it's stalling it out. They could try to potentially push with that coming in if they got this catch, but I don't think they're going to.
So they're going to rotate towards mid. Remember, they're sitting on a lot of gold from those 3 turrets they just took, but they still see their picks. Leona ult is going to zoom and not do anything, but Blaboor with yet another huge ult, but Gwen with a huge ult! The Ziggs damage from downtown, everyone is so low, and they're trying to walk out of this one. Kaisa with the long range. It's a second kill, and now a big Baron push is coming through, and this game has accelerated from 0 to 1,000.
Okay, I feel like Earth has to be flat at this point, because I feel like we're tilting left and right back to different fucking teams at this point. Holy shit.
Yeah, and it looks like the inhibitor will be taken, so blink and you missed it, folks, but we've had inhibitors traded. The Super Mega Death Rocket blocked. And EGD finds themselves back in control of this game. And that was just not a great decision to fight out of Back in Our Day in the mid lane. They were sitting on so much gold. They had taken 3 turrets. That is so much gold that you would want to spend before you go into another team fight. Give up the tier 1. But they want it all. And it costs them big. They will get this Ocean Drake as a consolation prize, but it's a 25-minute Ocean Drake with a pretty accelerated game. Not going to matter a whole lot.
I was gonna say, that's probably one of the best, like, bounce backs from a terrible shot, calling of let's do Baron in response and lose 3 towers and an inhib to let's run it down mid, since we're probably not going to be able to get Dragon in time. They're going to have vision, because honestly, if they would have walked into the jungle there, I think there's no way ET comes back. They're going to get tilted out of their minds and just think the game is entirely over and lose off the momentum there. That was intense 45 to 60 seconds.
It really was. But now we've got EGD with maybe 45 seconds left on this Baron. Don't expect them to do anything here. So they are back in control, but 4,000 gold in the lead. Looks like they want us to jump in the top lane, but Shotman, he maybe waits a little long to get out of that bush,
What
and
is
now
he doing?
that was embarrassing. There's no polite speech I can use to talk about that play. Brain dead, monkey decision to wait around in that top lane bush. And now his team is losing even more pressure.
Do you think he's gonna even be able to 2v1 at any point against Kaisa and Hook Receptor? We're showing on minions. So confused.
So am I. But here we are. EGD now up to a 5,500 gold lead. They are just using the Nard to clear out the super waves, obviously with the teleport available. Salvo doing the same for his team in the mid lane. As the siege is going to continue. Scotch going very aggressively for an ult and only hit Dub Drum though. I'm thinking that's not how they wanted to play this one. Master Splinter's coming in. Salvo has not yet entered the fight though, but Gwen just now getting his teleport off, but the Hecarim is already down and so many members of Back in Our Day are already low. EGD should be able to keep this siege going.
You know, I was really worried about that Nard pick early on, but Hibbs has managed to not really make any big blunders except getting caught bottom lane, which, I mean, there really wasn't much vision for him to make a play or to even try to defend himself, but he's done some pretty good work in the team fight department, and he's not made any major mistakes that cost his team big. He really denied the Trundle any real gold and being a little bully. It's actually working out super well for them.
Yeah, he had that gigantic ult earlier in the mid lane that set up his team taking the 3 revenge turrets in him. I've been actually legitimately impressed with how he's playing this Gnar ever since we hit the team fight phase.
And it just seems like a team that's really kind of out of his element, but you know, hats off to him on that one. That was actually a really good play. A really good champion to pick so far. Absolutely.
Has added a little depth that they needed at this point in the series. As now we've kind of stalled things out. Inhibitor on the red side is respawn, Inhibitor on the blue side about to respawn. The next dragon, by the way, going to be an Infernal, so there's still a bit on that, but we may see some actual contesting happen.
I think they're gonna be willing to give up any planning for the Fire Dragon, just trying to close out on this Baron here, because they do have nice minion waves pushing in bottom. They will have pressure here.
Shaman gets caught big, and now Scotch with an awful ult, trying to read the engage, but it wasn't coming. And now they've given up so much control of this Baron pit. And we are inching closer and closer to that game 5.
Uh-oh.
Oh, here we go, though. It looks like Back in Our Day wants to take this. They go in. Hecarim gets a lot of damage out of the Ziggs, but they don't secure the kill. And now a very split fight. Bestest one has made it out. He is chucking damage over the wall. It's a double kill on the Ziggs. Kaisa picking up more. And it's looking like this is going to be the game ender. It's just Shotman alive. And enemy gate is down. Is going to run this down mid. And folks, we did it. In the last SPL match ever, we are queuing up the Silver Scrapes, and we are going...
That was such a critical ultimate. Like, you saw the best one, he caught out like he rarely ever does. And the Gnar ultimate, as we were just talking about how it was so good this game, actually, saved him. Gnar ultimate into the wall, the peel form, he's able to flash out, or sorry, use Zanya's, and then flash out, and he comboed the stun immediately with it to make sure he can get out. And they end the game now. It's going game 5.
Yeah, very well played. EGD keeps their season alive. And so we'll be back in just a moment, guys. We're just going to get this lobby up. We're going to try to get this game ASAP as we are getting late here, so stay tuned. Alright, folks, welcome back. Game 5 of the SBL Championships. So much on the line here. We've got so much SBL history between these two teams. So many streaks that could be broken here. Salvo never won an SBL championship. Has the opportunity to finally do so. The bestest one, second place in every SBL season he's ever played, has the chance to finally win one.
To be to bestest one.
To truly be to bestest one. So we will see what changes in Game 5. Obviously, Game 5 can be a pretty different animal compared to other League of Legends. There's just so much more tension. Your back is finally totally against the wall. And while I do expect to see some changes come through with the picks, I don't expect them to come through with the bans because we've had the same bans every game so far. And it's looking like that's going to be a repeat one last time, because why the hell not?
Not like there are any picks that need to be extra ones, but
So the only thing that has changed this entire series is after game 1, EGD picked up that silver ban. They have been the same first rotation bans every game, and it's gotten both these teams to 2-2. So for better or for worse, I don't blame them for it. So now what comes with the picks? Is it going to be the Trundle first pick? It is. And I do like that, but I want to see back in our day, wait, don't run Trundle top lines. You know, if you're going to flex it, see your matchup and make sure you like it first.
yeah, it's pretty crucial to the whole point of a flex pick. So hopefully they can attest to that.
And so
Are
it's,
we gonna run it back? Are we gonna give them the salty run back right now?
that
Are we in
pop,
the Matrix?
that
Did we
pop-
just see this game?
that Poppy could be a flex as well. We've seen a Gwen play it this season. So I'm expecting the Zyra to come through here for Scotch. I know I was very critical of the Braum. It's been pretty poor both times he's played it this series. And so maybe we'll even see the Morgana come through that drew a ban last game.
It would be super critical for them to really be intelligent here and pick for the support before they remove the Zyra. They already know it's Leona. Like, they know their lane. Just pick something now before it gets removed from the game. Really need to force that issue.
Yeah, but we'll see. They're clearly debating this down to the wire here. And yep, it is going to be the Zyra, so they are agreeing with us there. Gonna let Salvo draw the bans instead. And now this probably does force back at our day into a very high damage team composition. So there's going to be low room for error. But I prefer that to the Braum, because while there may be room for error with the Braum pick given the composition, there has been a lot of error on the Braum. And so we're going to round things out in pick phase 1 with Tuesday taking the Kaisa for the 4th consecutive game. No surprises. He's been playing very well. And now what changes?
I'm actually still worried about the Zyra pick to some degree, because the whole thing that can actually kill Zyra is that hard engage that's, you know, with Leona having the E to extend it, with Kaisa 2 with her passive with the CC stacks being applied. Could still be a high death total for Scotch here. And we have seen him play Zyra beforehand against the Kaisa with Wolves and just get caught out repeatedly and just kind of punished, actually. More than what you would think a Zyra would be. So I'm hopefully seeing this will be a lot more of a closer match bottom lane, just because of how disgusting Zyra is. Still worried for Scotch's side.
Alright, and the final game of the SBL, it feels fitting to see that Hecarim that we've seen so many times get banned. And then it's going to be the Irelia coming the other way. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I think again, if they're kind of able to put Tibessa's one on again a more passive laner in mid lane. Oh.
So it's going to be the Scanner coming through. We had this matchup in game 1 of this series. I'm not crazy about the Scanner into the Zyra.
Yeah.
It's just a very difficult pick to do the Scanner things into. But it's obviously a dub jump special, and like I said, you know, season on the line, legacy on the line. You got to take the dub with the drum. Go with what you know. So I'm not surprised. And there we go. That is going to be the pick. Not the Jinx, but going to be the Ezreal, because they felt they need some more safety on Back in Our Days backline. And I don't love Salvo's Ezreal, but I think to have the Zyra and the Ziggs, that was the type of pick they needed to make.
Oh, we get to see the Scion versus Poppy matchup yet again. That's going to be a rough one.
Yeah, so this is going to be similar to what we got in Game 1. 3 of the 5 same picks out of Back in Our Day, going up against the adapted comp out of EGD.
I'm interested in seeing what Tibessus one is going to bring to the table here for the final game. Really hoping something aggressive. Really have a chance to take over the game here. I would like to see an assassin, but there are 2 beefy champions in my... What?
We have changed gears. As we're going to have Annie coming in to round this season out.
I'm really not a huge fan of Annie into Ziggs, unless she's going to be able to bring some of those summer spell reduction cooldown with the boots and then the rune, maybe. It's going to be a really tough lane for Annie to get poked out every time she goes in for a CS.
Yeah,
CS.
I'm kind of surprised as well. Annie traditionally not someone you pick into extra long range mages, and Ziggs maybe the definitive extra long range mage. But it's going to give Bestis some of that assassination and playmaking that he's known for. And he's a fantastic player. I have no reason not to trust him if he thinks this is the pick. So I'm really curious to see how this is going to go.
Looking at matchups online, apparently Annie has a 57% win rate in the Ziggs. So
Yeah,
maybe I'm just fucking delusional.
Yeah, this could be different than when I played. Maybe the all-in potential is just too much for Ziggs to handle. We'll find out.
I can see if she does get on Ziggs ever, he doesn't have an opportunity to get away. His W is too long to work, so that's actually pretty reasonable.
Yeah, so to me, the biggest story isn't... It's just all about the mental state of these teams. As we've been saying all series long, do we get the proactive EGD or do we get the slow reactive EGD? And Game 5 can just force some teams to play such scared League of Legends. And I think that if that's what happens to EGD, it's going to be game over, obviously. But, they were at match point in Game 4, and they busted out their good side again. So I've overall been happy with how EGD has played this series out mentally. So we'll see if they can do it one last time, cap off one of the best seasons in SBL history, or if they're going to leave the SBL disappointed yet again, like some of these players have been so many times.
I have to say, with comp versus comp, I'm going to definitely give it to EGD. I think they have a better overall team fight and actual ability to put out damage here. I think the Zyra will make the huge difference when it comes to team fights. If they can really get picks on EGD's side or not, I do think Zyra, without having the 3 pretty short range, well, the 3 melees and then the short ranged mage, how they're going to be able to deal with that Zyra damage in team fights with all their plants going all over. But it would say I'm going to edge to EGD, and I think their mental state is so much better after having 2 pretty crushing defeats. One where they had their own self-error, and the other one where they just got mollywopped. Having this pretty strong comeback game, I got to say they're probably in a better spot here. And Splinter, on the line here, probably are a little flustered to try to get this game, finished as soon as possible so you can make it to work. And after last game being pretty disappointing by his whole team, gotta feel like he's gonna feel like it's pretty much just him versus the world at this point. He's gonna definitely force a lot of plays that might be punished.
Yeah, we will. Time will tell. So this is it. So those of you still watching, thank you for sticking with us tonight through all the technical issues and whatnot, as we have had a pretty fantastic series around it. And I hope we can get one last good game here.
I just hope we get through this game without extensive pauses. That's all I'm hoping for.
Yes, same. I do have the clearance to be late to work, but I would prefer to be there on time. There we go. We're in.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
And back in our day, 5th consecutive blue side game, going for their 3rd time pulling this exact same invade.
And of course, Mr. Tuesday's in the exact same spot.
Yeah, no Braum Qs this time. And Mr. Tuesday gonna respect this plenty. Does not want to get Zyra snared. As that would be flashed onto, I imagine.
I would definitely feel like it. At game 5, you see any blood in the water, you're blowing all 5 flashes over the wall, making a play.
Minions have spawned.
But nothing decisive done. That's this one gets that ward onto the opposing blue like he has in previous games. And both these junglers going to get their start on the bot side of the map. So we may see the junglers meet early. We may not. And fortunately, both these junglers, these teams have all their players starting with items again. It's a big win. We did that 2 games in a row. I'm so proud of these guys.
I will be interested to see how this Poppy Sion match goes, just because Sion's, pretty much all of Sion's harassing lane is generated by his E, pretty much. His E then followed by Q combo against Poppy, because Poppy doesn't have the ability to get out. How that's going to play effect, because last time we had Poppy and Sion going doing a corrupting potion with Wind and, again, Dire Chopman and Sion, and Wind was just getting beat to death. And now they both went a Doran Shield, so Sion's not going to have a lot of mana here. And he also went a Glacial Augmentation. It's a little different.
By the way, on Scotch Watch, there has been no massive level 2 trades lost this game. Big win for the back in Arte bot lane.
That's a huge improvement.
Yeah, because it has happened multiple times this series. And Scotch and Salvo actually taking a health advantage in this bot lane right now, which is how this should play. With a Zyra against a Leona, you should be poking it, but how it should be played and how it has been played has not always overlapped for back in our day.
I'm not a huge fan of the Doran bringing into this Ezreal and
Yeah, I was
Zyra.
I was wondering about that. That's one of those things I'm a little too out of touch of just know, but I was a little surprised to still see that start.
I think it was fine last game because they were trying to be aggressive and they didn't have too much harass from Braum. But I'm not a huge fan of bringing no sustain like Kai'Sa, who's a pretty short-ranged mage that can struggle in the early game if it's going to have a Zyra.
And now Dump Drum is coming up into this top lane. Gwen is taking a lot of damage here, but not actually maybe enough to be in some danger here. I don't think a Gwen can really come forward on this gank, and so that's going to let Dire Chopman hold onto his flash.
Yeah, Gwen really need to get that Q off there or flash the stun. They would have 100% gotten the kill.
Oh, here we go. Hookersets finally gets the hook, jumps in, but he's just taking the damage, and now Master Splinter is showing up. Mr. Tuesday has this Ignite ticking down. He's trying to save his summoners. Will we see anyone follow? There we go, the flash. Gonna force the flash. And it's ultimately an Ignite and a flash traded for Mr. Tuesday's flash.
That was a pretty good escape, all things considered. They only have to blow a flash after pretty going balls deep for that play. Having a counter get occur at the same time.
So now we're seeing maybe our evenest early game we've seen yet. Stub Drum is coming around, but that's an Ezreal. Won't even think of getting damage off there. The Splinter's in the neighborhood anyways.
I'm not too sure what he thought was going to happen.
He probably thought that Salvo was going to just fat finger E into him and then just unplug his desktop. Because that's how Dub Drum would think about a gank.
Or just randomly go into a coma. Something tragic.
Tuesday going to get his first back off, so Tuesday should now be entering a power spike here as he's got a BF sword. Ezreal most likely not buying a BF sword. And yeah, Salvo is going into that tier of the goddess as you would assume of an Ezreal, but sometimes what you would assume of a champion and what you would get from Salvo are drastically different. But nope, Salvo is going to try to scale this one out, so let's keep an eye on what he does. Meanwhile, in this mid lane, best this one, and Dub Drum actually making his way in. They are popping Timbers onto Renai. He's taking a lot of damage. A nice jump out from the Ziggs, and Renai walks out, still has his flash. Actually, both mid laners still have their flash. It was just Dub Drum to pop a flash in that engagement. And this early game continues yet even further. The longest we've seen this early game stay even.
Wayne's taking a beating top lane from the Scion. It's just a pretty unfun matchup.
Yeah, he has teleport available. Maybe we're about to see him use it.
I will say for having that kind of harass heavy lane and bottom lane, it's pretty great to see that Miss Tuesday is able to still have a PS lead here.
Yeah, Tuesday has been playing very well this game, as he has all series, like we were saying earlier. But overall, gold still even across the board, and I don't see an obvious place where this game's going to accelerate. The first dragon is in air, so I don't think these teams are going to be giving up too many resources to go set up for that.
Why did he do that? Like, he won the trade, then he made the most obvious way for him to, like, lose a trade, and he did it. I just don't understand.
Alright, but in this bot lane, Master Splinter just now showing up. Salvo going to be dumping a lot of damage onto the hook resets. Will the Ziggs all come through? No.
Oh my god!
Now Andy, though, coming out of the river. Gonna force a heal on the Scotchshot. And Gwen teleporting in. Now Zyro Chopman following. They're chasing onto the bestest one. Master Splinter going for this 1v1, but he is running right into a Ziggs. Tibbers, though, is laying down the fat DPS. But here we go. Ziggs on the rope. The first blood finally comes through. Dub Drum gonna equalize onto Master Splinter. Can either of these teams find more? Chopman trying to chase this one out with some long-range poke from Salvo, but I think that's going to do it. A 1-for-1. Blab and Dub Drum putting themselves on the board.
Huh. Again, another pretty fucking entertaining 45 seconds. And Game accelerated real quickly there for a second. Everybody going in, balls deep. I will say again, good job for one. Hooker sets to help block damage to make sure Kaisa could get out, and Kaisa to stay alive as well.
Yeah, it was hard to see in the action there. I couldn't tell if Salvo landed True Shot Barrage or not.
He missed,
Okay,
unfortunately.
it looked like it was really close, but I thought he missed, so that would have been an additional kill going over to back in Isaiah if it weren't for a mechanical fuck up out of Salvo.
It was the bomb missed too. The what do you call it? The Ziggs bomb missed as well, unfortunately.
Yeah, and somehow, despite all of that action, there weren't a lot of summoners committed in that fight. Still some big flashes available here. Salvo, Tuesday, Hook Resets, Master Splinter all have theirs.
You're really seeing that CS league come out now out of bottom lane, and it actually is pretty great to see Annie is able to go ahead and keep that competitive in CS for EGDs.
Yeah, clearly.
They're definitely in an awkward lane, but they're pulling through.
Clearly TBO knew something that we didn't, as this lane has been not an issue for him, and now he is starting to get into a powerful phase of the game. But for
It's
now,
actually kind of strange here on the jungle side. You do see Splinter. He's actually down about let's check here. He's down about 3 to 4 camps. He's somewhere in between there, it looks like.
Yeah.
But that's actually pretty uncommon. A lot of games, Splinter's typically the leader in the jungle for the CS, and he's pretty much usually navigating pressure a lot more. And this is kind of strange because Splinter really hasn't had too much of an impact on the map, except the one gank in mid lane, which didn't result in a kill. And then that river play there was pretty much the next one that had happened.
yeah, maybe content to just play this game a little bit later. Maybe that's where he's seeing the power on this trundle, although he is setting up for a nice bot lane gank here, but Scotch does not land the snare, so I think that's going to kill this one. Although Dubdrum is making his way down, so this could get spicy bot lane. Here we go, Hokus has flashing in. Both junglers are available. Can they pop Scotch first? Yes, they can. Does not get the ult. No, Dubdrum flashes to take a turret shot. Getting a little too hypey there, but still a win. Hook resets, puts Tuesday onto the board. That was Ziggs did kind of roam down towards the bot lane, just in case the dive continued. It's gonna give Bestis a chance to get some free farm in the mid lane. It's looking like maybe we're gonna see EGD head over towards this air drake. Yeah, it's gonna be free dragon. So, the thing's all coming through just in case. Maybe would have saved that, but goes over to EGD, so they are on the board. Now we can maybe see the next dragon. Nope, next dragon's going to be an ocean, so no triple infernal start in game 5 like I was hoping for. As we are definitely setting ourselves up for a long game here.
It's gonna be a grueling one, but it will be the only proper way to close out the SPM.
Absolutely. And so these teams still pretty much even across the board. You know, we're talking just under 300 gold lead for EGD. I think both of these teams content to scale. As a fastest one is closing in on his flash coming off cooldown. So that could be a big thing to watch out for, as obviously Annie has a lot of flash plays available. Although he is sitting on a lot of gold, it's probably going to back before that happens. So, Luden's Echo coming through for the bestest one as he's basically got Luden's Echo, he's got Sorcerer's Shoes. We are kind of hitting the Annie zone where you...
I didn't even notice this. He actually ran Predator on Annie, so I'm actually hoping here, instead of going directly into lane, maybe, hopefully he's charged up his stun before he goes lane. I imagine he unfortunately hasn't. But he could have just Predator in and try to go on this with that flash up and try to really force that play. Or even make a play bottom lane. Or potentially top. Nobody's touched top all game pretty much, except Dubdrum on his one game.
Yeah, not what I would have predicted going into this, given how top-centric these junglers have played most of the series. But, you know, Poppy and Syat, I don't blame them for not wanting to snowball those champs compared to their other lanes. But we're still looking at a very decelerated game here. As now Splinter is being pinged out. He is a bit split off from his team. Or maybe no, he is the bait, but Renai is getting baited as he gets nearly popped as Ziggs. Splinter trying to turn on the other side of this fight. And actually a great all-out of Renai circulation. Is the Ignite enough? I don't think so. And now Scion from downtown making his way into this fight. But he's still a little split from his team. Dabestos one is putting out so much zone control on this Annie. Is all 5 members of EGT have grouped up as a unit. They've forced out Renai, they've forced out Master Splinter, and they're going to start the siege onto this mid turret. Zigzald's coming through to hold, and that's actually going to put out some good damage that back in our day needed right now. And that might be the end of our big mid push.
I'm really confused on why that call changed to go on to Renai circulation instead of just killing Splinter, who was literally all on his own and nowhere to go except to the enemy team. That was a really strange play there.
Yeah,
because they ended up with essentially nothing, and they blew 2 summoners from Annie and her Predator.
Yeah, I also thought Splinter was dead to rights, but he walked out of that one. No objectives taken, as now we, it feels very funny to see a 16-minute ARAM in Game 5 of the SBL Finals, but here we are. Back in our day, maybe feeling good about their siege with the Zyra, Ezreal, Ziggs, as long as a Trundle that's hard to engage into, but Eggman looking for a big Poppy ult, does not hit anybody, and now Scotch flashes forward, gets the kill onto the bestest one, he's gonna die, but that was so worth. Dubdrum wants to get some extra kills, he pulls Dio Chopman's Eve, and Ignite comes down, but the Chopman's gonna flash out, and EGD has such low health bars, this siege will absolutely continue for back in our day.
Yeah, that decision to really commit to mid lane and bring all 5 actually really bit them in the ass super hard here. Because they didn't base after their failed attempt, and they stuck around too long that all got poked out, and now they couldn't defend their own turret.
Yeah, and now back in our day,
Rip Trail going down too.
I don't know if they're gonna do that. They're just going for this meaty wave in the top lane. That's a fucking Thanksgiving feast crashing into their turret right now. But back in our day is content to stick around. They don't have a ton of unspent gold, just 2 players over 1k. But this is still a pretty dangerous Rift Herald, as everyone has made it out of base from EGD. And so I'm thinking they just gave up that top farm for free here.
Missing on top lane farm, and they're gonna miss out on being able to take the Rift Herald.
Although Annie is showing bot lane, so they have 5v4 advantage right now. Maybe we're gonna see back in our day pull the trigger on something. Asbestos is just now making his way past the Dragon Pit. Or maybe we're going to see a whole lot of nothing. Everyone runs it back down mid.
Salty run back mid lane, ARAM style.
Yeah, it's Audio Chopman, one of the guys with the most gold available. He's going to be forcing his recall right here at 1600. I guess I should leave that up for more than a half second for all my wonderful spectators. As we take a look at gold. Nothing too crazy right now. Bunch of 300-400 gold leads in various places. And this game gonna continue nice and down tempo. EGD does have the setup on this dragon as Salvo chucks True Shot Barrage down into the bot lane just to clear CS. But there should be a free dragon if EGD wants it, as back in our day has taken this opportunity to get most of their recalls off. And so not the most important dragons, but it will be 2-0 on that eventual outer counter.
Water Dragon is actually pretty huge for EGD in this game. What they have is Ziggs just constantly trying to poke them out here. Actually, be really important dragon in this game for the remainder.
Yeah, by the way, next dragon's going to be Earth, so that means with 3 dragons accounted for, we will not get any Infernals in Game 5.
We're gonna unfortunately miss out on Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Sad. And so the slow game is going to continue. Dubdrum can be a scary scorpion sometimes. Dubdrum can be a scary scorpion sometimes. I honestly thought he was gonna go flash onto Salvo there. Not that
Yeah,
I
I think
thought.
that's actually the weirdest thing is that like Dubdrum is not the most cerebral player, but like he will run and jump and pounce on the 50-50 plays, the 40-60 plays, the 30-70 plays even, and sometimes it doesn't work out for him, but when it does, it's usually paid off pretty huge.
Yeah, now Gold dead even here at the 20-minute mark. What a way for Game 5 of this series to go. As I don't think either of these teams are willing to commit to anything. Splinter is showing on some wards, so maybe that would be a catalyst, but EGD is just playing dangerously into this poke. They lose this ARAM scenario unless they pull the trigger on something.
Yeah, it's actually kind of strange because EGs probably have one of the better macros of teams in this league, and they decided for some reason to really join the ARAM mode against back in our day for some reason.
Yes.
Kind of due to that anti-pick, unfortunately, having pretty much no wave clear, and Kaisa also having no save.
Hook resets might be caught out a little deep, though. He was going pretty hard to try to get some vision up, and he's going to have to pop his flash to get out of there, but that is a very expensive flash off the... So now, back in our day, it can feel even safer attempting this mid-siege, as there won't be a Flash Leona coming through. As a Salvo is in big danger here. He's going to get stunned, and he's going to get popped. And
bye.
that was just a huge misplay on a Salvo. There was... I don't know what he was hoping to do there. He did not E away fast enough. He pretty much needed to flash as soon as Annie was on his screen.
Oh, and Scotch
now
is here now.
Scotch is about to get dove. What was he hoping would happen? I don't know. And Hook resets, puts himself on the board. All 5 members of EGZ at a kill apiece. As now they're going to get the chance to start making some macro plays. They take top turret. Chopman's going to try to put damage on the bot. Some tier 1. But there's going to be some big damage, if not an outright take onto the tier 2 as well. Zigzal does clear out that creep wave. And Timbers is going to be tanking, but I think that back in our day can hold this turret for now. Chopman got that bottom lane turret down to about 20%.
Now that back in our day is no longer convincing EGD to actually play the ARAM with them, you're kind of starting to see why they wanted the ARAM so badly. The bottom lane can't really function unless they're on the rest of the team to make sure that they can kind of pull the strings up. You need to come back, or you need to go forward, or let's group back here and reset.
Yeah, those are still 2 bot lane players that definitely want to scale in this game. Ezreal obviously wants to be stacking up that Mirror Mana, get some multiple items. Scotch only going to get better with items. And there are some pretty big picks, specifically the Annie, who aren't going to scale super hard in a late game out of EGD. So I still think EGD, they have, like, their foot's on the gas, but they're barely pressing it right now. And I do think they need to slam that thing down a little more. They are looking for more of an advantage because we are quickly approaching late game.
Yeah, and I think this game is going to be really crucial to see what Annie's able to do when she gets a 3rd item. You know, they really got to get a huge advantage build when she gets the 3 items, because after that, Ziggs is going to be able to just poke and poke and poke, and then just throw a W at the tower, and they're not going to have much of an answer with their very limited wave clear. Really got to start speeding it up here with making a play and not dancing around, kind of buying time for the enemy team.
Yeah, and Blab is fast approaching his, I assume, Rabadon's Death Cap is the item that takes 2 needlessly large rods now, if I remember right.
Correct.
And so he's going to have the mana to sustain it and the damage for it to hurt. It'll be very difficult to deal with from long range.
User in your channel
Shotman
timed out.
actually, that was just 30, don't worry. But Shotman actually able to go down bot and finally take that turret, so this very long play he's been making pays off to get the bot lane tier 1. And that's just a little extra gold for his team. And there it is, Blab gets the Rabadon's Death Cap. So I would say Blab has entered the Zig Zone.
Yeah, we just kind of just put out a lot of
User
damage
entered
for
your
him.
channel.
It's gonna be kind of rough for him.
Yeah, and oh no.
My gosh. Am I gonna slash boss?
Yeah, looks like these.
A summoner has
There it is.
There we go.
Alright, so it looks like they're gonna potentially make sure this works. I really do hate how chat lags out in a paused game as a spectator, but it looks like both these teams were ready right away, so fortunately, no major issues there. Both teams ready, and here comes the unpause.
EGD will lose a ban for Game 6.
Yeah, EGD actually are gonna lose the ability to sign up for the SBL. Don't come back.
We're gonna have to get We're gonna have to get screenshots of internet connections and speed going forward.
Yeah, I want video proof of you on the phone with your ISP 20 minutes ago, or we're putting crews in there right now. Alright, so both these teams look like they do want to contest this dragon, as all 10 members are here. Watch Annie on the flank. Dub Drum setting up some pressure, and here we go. Scion knocked out, but he can just charge his way back in.
I'm not really sure what the point of the Poppy ult is there. I would just hold it to make sure you can feel for your backline.
Yeah, I think they wanted to engage, but back in our day was just playing a little too far back to take that. And now the question is Annie flanking, or is Annie being zoned?
100% being so. Oh, she's moving up now. If I hear the Predator whistle, making a big play.
Dub Drum has gone down towards the bot lane, so back in our day, they have zoned everyone up towards that blue, and that is a dragon given up after a long dance. And I don't like that from EGD. Like I said, I think they are in their power window right now. They need to force the issue, but they clearly do not agree with me. They're fine with this game going late. Whether that's solid macro or game 5 jitters, I'm not an expert enough to tell you.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm not really a huge fan of the idea of doing up the dragon for free. You have 4 of their teammates clustered in one small circle, and he just has to be anyone competent to just press R in the general vicinity of all 4 of them to get at least maybe 1 or 2 stunned, if not more, and actually really just demolish the tanks and put in work.
And now, back in our day, going to check Baron with the True Shot Barrage, but it is not being done, as we are entering solid Baron territory here. And that's maybe where we really need to see EGD start making their way. So there is both side lanes being pressured by creeps from the blue side here. But these guys, this feels like a game 5. These teams are both playing it very slowly. They don't want to make big mistakes, you know, other than really when Salvo and Scotch got caught out, and that only turned into a tier 1 turret. There haven't been any just glaring bad plays. But sometimes inactivity is the glaring bad play, and you realize it after the fact.
Yeah, so I'm not a huge fan of this very passive approach to the game from EGD when they're, like you said repeatedly, they're on the timer here.
Yeah, and like I also said, when they're not playing proactively and like creating their own plays, they don't tend to win. And
I really think that Annie really hasn't been anyone.
Alright, but here we go. They're looking for it. They've popped Scotch! And it is not just Scotch. It is Scotch and Salvo letting their team down yet again with gigantic picks. And we're going to see EGD either run this down mid or run this over to Baron.
I was about to talk shit on the fact that they haven't used Annie to really do any good plays recently. But then that happened.
This is a 3 versus 3 in the mid lane. The bot lane, Hook and Tuesday, are currently splitting. So maybe we see the trigger pulled on a fight here. Or maybe they just trust Ziggs to hold this. Annie has a flash available, so Renai has to be careful. But no, split it. Instead of the 3v3, they're taking the 2 versus 2. They're jumping onto Hook resets. He has to pop the Leona ult defensively. But the Scion is charging. Cowards, stand and fight him as he is putting out a lot of damage. Both of the bot laners have teleported or flashed away. Now a Gwen is teleporting in. And now Dubdrum is... Oh no! Scotch has spawned just to die!
That's gonna be a Baron, I'm hoping, because Splinter got beat up pretty bad, had to blow a flash, and they blew Scion ultimate. They lost mid tower. Although they don't have pressure, so they probably can't get the Baron yet here.
Oh, Renai, though. Now Renai's getting caught back in our day. Are cracking under the pressure of this game and making such bad positional mistakes.
Yeah, I was saying, just like I was actually gonna put a lot of shade on the Annie pick. It really wasn't used in a useful manner.
Finally come online, and will they go for a fight? Shotman is going to be knocked out here. Festus is zoning, and they realize they would give up too much to contest this. So now Baron goes over, and in the span of minutes, we've seen this gold lead balloon up to 5,000 for EGD. And now what do they do with it? Festus picks up a Rabadon's Death Cap of his own. Kaisa gets a QSS. And a big Baron Siege is about to be coming down to back in our day's side of the map.
I think they might have heard you on making sure they floor that pedal.
Yeah,
they went 0 to 100 pretty quickly.
And they weren't even especially creative plays. They just found back in our day not respecting flash and point-click stuns.
The highest form of outplay.
And now Shotman's the one being engaged on. He has made a flash under his turret, but Dubdrum is content to go for this pick here. Scion has to ult defensively, but he is still being stunned. He's a very tanky man, but he is being chunked through. Blab and Salvo do not get there in time. The heal is not enough. And that is yet another pick. And now Annie picks out Salvo! Oh, but going to lose her life in the process. It's a 3 versus 4 here at the tier 2. But maybe most importantly, the wave clear for back in our day is still alive. Dubdrum really threatening this flank. Hook resets does not land the Leona dash, and actually there's some good damage coming out of the Ziggs here. He's mopping up these creeps, but that is a tier 2 down. And I think that is where the Baron Siege calls it quits. Salvo and Chopman about to spawn. So EGD maybe going to take this dragon. It's an Wind Drake here. Spawning in 6 seconds.
Oh boy, a Clown Drake.
Yay!
I guess it does honestly though benefit Annie. She's run real quick. There's always that.
Yeah, and Cloud, like, it's one of those ones where when you're up 2-0 on that, it starts to really feel impactful.
Yeah, I think bearing any catastrophic mistake from either Kaisa or even Skarner potentially is the only people I can really see that should be dropping the ball here. They probably are going to close this game out here soon.
I don't know. I know that they're in control, but they still, to me, haven't made the backbreaker play. They're not going to make it with this Baron, as they only have about 45 seconds left. They haven't cracked open back in our day's base. I still think when we're in 4 or 5 item territory, back in our day compositionally takes control of this game back. So I think that we need to see EGD still keep forcing this, and they're about to be trying to do it into Ziggs wave clear with no Baron buff.
Could be also that just actually maybe I didn't give enough credit over to Ziggs in terms of the amount of damage of wave clear he can use to prolong the game, but I really do think Somebody's gonna mess up here on Backyard Day. You already saw with Dire Chapman down in that bottom lane play that just happened. He randomly ulted toward his tower and then realized he's gonna hit his tower, so he had to stop it early and then died. You had Scotch get caught out a couple times here. You had Salvo get caught out here a couple times as well. And Renai Circulation really isn't able to do too much other than just kind of wave clear here.
Yeah.
Right now.
Back in our day, they would benefit from an actual 5 versus 5 that begins with all of their team engaged in the fights, not dead.
It is pretty nice to have fights when your teammates aren't already dead.
It's the biggest advantage you can have, actually. But pace of this game is still going to be going way down. Back in our day, going to want to keep stalling this forward. So what does EGD do? They probably want to start reestablishing vision around the Baron in the enemy blue side to be setting up for this Baron play, because second Baron could be the backbreaker. And with 3 dragons, they could be somewhat big if they get an Elder Dragon as well. So there's still a very open playbook here for EGD.
I really hope they make some kind of good play around the red buff there. I feel like Splinter or Salvo is gonna walk into that without really any idea that, hey, they could potentially be here.
I don't know.
Because if Annie's sitting there in the bush with a pink on her, she might be able to just blow up somebody.
I'm really starting to think that that's happened enough times to Salvo and Scotch this game that they won't do it again. Combined 1 and 8 here, almost all of their team's deaths. I like to think that by this 36-minute point they've learned their lesson, but time will tell. And that's bad.
And I have no faith in Scotch or Salvo to really make that respect play there that they did, because this is kind of their storyline for seasons. Not even just this season. It's seeing them make some big oof plays that you're just like, why?
And that was another big oof play, and they sure do add up. Now, Annie is far away from this fight if something were to break out immediately. But I don't think that
You would have
Back in our
Predator
Day
to be fair, to cover a lot of that ground.
Yeah, I don't think Back in our Day has anybody. No, and here we go. Scotter flashing forward. They want to pick up Master Splinter. Annie is coming in on the flank.
Oh,
and it looks
Annie
like Back in our Day has to commit to this, but the Annie flank melts Ziggs, melts Zyra. And there is not any damage being dealt by Back in our Day. They've lost Master Splinter. They've lost Dario Chopman. It's just Salvo alive, but Back in our Day, I think this could be the end. These are some short spawn timers. Scotch is going to be up in 20. It's going to be close. But I think that EGD is going to try to close this one out. Inhibitor down. 12 seconds on the Scotch spawn. Can they do it? They have Tibbers to help them. They're flashing on the Salvo. And Salvo, of course, he has to get caught one last time. Nexus turret 1 down. Nexus turret 2 down. Scotch maybe going to add a death just for fun.
One last hit to close out the season. Go!
And that is it, folks. In 5 incredible games, Enemy Gate is down.
Man.
Has won the final Swain Baddy League.
Never had a doubt in my mind, honestly. Never had a doubt.
What a series that was. And congrats to EGD. Commissioner 30, are you here?
I am.
If you would like to do the honors, I am going to pass the stream back to you for this post-game interview. If you are able.
Certainly.
Alright, well folks, we're going to go offline. If you want the interview, stay tuned for all of 3 seconds for the stream to come back.